Aktuálně jsou 14. Kolikátý myslíte, že skončí po dnešku? 14. jsou teď. Kolikátý by mohli být? Dneska se to rozhodne? No dneska se to rozhodne, to je jasný. Za 15 minut začíná ta hra, takže proto ten odpočet. Chcete vidět tu včerejší hru? Poslední? Koukám, že tady je nějaký special bundle, já jsem ještě dneska nezapl fonko. Jak se máte čet, ale vy povězte mi, co jste dneska dělali v neděli. Já jsem vstál, udělal jsem nějaký povinnosti, které jsem potřeboval, pak jsme jeli na kole, ven. Jak jste se měli vy? Ahoj Tarexo, ahoj Ivano, ahoj Dominiku, ahoj Niky, ahoj Václave, čau Perpatresy. Takže dneska se koukneme na FNCS den 2. Za přibližně 15 minut začíná první hra, dneska se hraje 6 her. Huty a F1HYX po včerejšku díky té poslední hře aktuálně 14. místo, což je na postup. Top 20, aby postoupili do Německa, což Německo finále je potom za měsíc. Martin, čau, Kocourku, ahoj, ahoj Radku, koho jsem ještě nepozdravil, čau Fortnite Edite, čau Milesy. Hele, 1v1 nehraju, promiň. FNCS v shop je narvanej, no. Shop je narvanej a ty nový skiny nejsou špatný. Hatsune Miku. Uvidíme, co potom přidají ve čtvrtečním updateu. Čau Tobixo, ahoj Matixo. Čau Štěpáne. Díky za followy, Jakubko. Ahoj admine, ahoj Janky. Ahoj Šimone. Jo, chat, to jste slyšeli, počkat, to jste slyšeli. Určitě jste slyšeli o tom, že někdo cheatoval v FNCS-ku. A to se, jestli to nevíte, tak no asi se z toho neposerete, ale co jako včera Epic dropl, oni teď to vidět, že jo, na X-ku ještě na YouTube, oni dali ban, myslím, že to bylo hlavně na americkém regionu, oni zabanovali nějaký hráče, protože používali věci, které by asi neměli používat, ale pak se zjistilo, že je používat prý mohou a Fortnite Competitive tohle včera večer dropl. Kde to bylo? Jo, tady. Že oni prostě, dá se říct v tomhle tweetu, řekli, že to posrali a zabanovali hráče, který zabanovaný neměli být. Takže oni zabanovali, myslím, že to je konkrétně Bugha taky, ne? Myslím, že tam byl Bugha. Oni zabanovali Bughu, ale ten ban neměl dostat správně. A ještě teda potvrdili to, že bohužel to nemůžou vrátit zpátky, takže ty hráči, kteří omylem dostali ban, jsou prostě zabanovaný, nebo jsou zabanovaný, nemůžou hrát tohleto FNCS-ko už a žádnej reset nebude. Takže vemte si, že Huty a F1HYX by třeba používali já nevím, nějakou tu aplikaci, nevím, co konkrétně to bylo, ale používali by to, kvůli tomu by dostali diskval a pak by bylo to, že to byl omyl, že to jakoby neměli dostat ten ban na FNCS-ko, ale už by nemohli hrát. No prostě mají v tom totální bordel. Ten tweet má mimochodem 3,7 milionů zhlédnutí. Macroné, jestli se nemýlím, tak to bylo něco v tom stylu, že jste jako viděli, kde spadnete na mapu, nebo něco takového. Jo, já se v těch věcičkách nevyznám, jo, ale dost se to řešilo a musí si to pohlídat, no. Nějaký software na statistiky, jo, myslím, že dopad, kam padnou na mapu, drop mapu, yes. Drop mapu, nějaký software a kvůli tomu dostali diskval, i ban jakoby správně na to FNCS-ko, ale nakonec to prý byla chyba. Takže buďme rádi, že se to nestalo F1HYXovi a Hutymu. Kdo jste přišel teď na stream, tak dneska koukáme na druhý den, druhá část FNCS-ka, kde naši borci Huty a F1HYX mohou postoupit do Německa na velké finále, velký prize pool. Po včerejšku, kdo jste včerejšek nesledovali, nebo jste to vůbec nezaregistrovali, tak po včerejšku Huty a F1HYX je aktuálně na 14. místě. 167 bodů, což znamená aktuálně postup. 20 nejlepších týmů postupuje, což je 153 bodů. F1HYX Huty, kdo jste tady nebyl, tak včera vyhráli poslední hru, kterou vám tady pustím, abyste viděli, jak včerejší poslední hra vypadala. Takže včera, abych byl upřímnej, a to jste i viděli, kdo jste byl na streamu, tak první 3 hry přibližně se jim nedařily, ale potom na konci dali comeback, začalo se dařit a potvrdili to i tady tím krásným vinem. Tady to není pouze... To je ono, nemyslím. Yes. Takže Huty a F1HYX včera, win 6. hra. Tyjo, pamatujete si někdy, že by někdo vyhrál takhle v FNCS Finals jako z CZSK scény tu hru? Tyjo, možná Chapter 2, Chapter 3. V Chapter 5 to nikdo nevyhrál, ne, Huty v té době, ne, no. Takže to bylo nice, to včera dost potěšilo, že takhle dopadly. Takže tak a za 10 minut nám začíná watching party, měl by asi zase být nějaký free drop, takže na to taky když tak kouknem. Fortnite ještě nestreamuje? Jo, má to už zaplý. Nějaký dotazy, borci? Je tady nějaký drop? Ale dneska je drop batoh. Máte ten batoh? To je... Napište mi 1 do chatu, jestli máte, 2, jestli nemáte. Ten batoh. FNCS si napište do lockeru a jestli nemáte ten batoh, FNCS Hunter, tak ho teď můžete získat zadarmo. Pouze dneska na Twitchi. Na Twitchi půl hoďky stream. Když bude update, ve čtvrtek bude update. Ve čtvrtek bude velký update. Pepiku, dík za follow na TikToku. Keď si koupím Daco, Davide, měl bys dostat, ale to myslím, že na konkrétní oferky záleží taky, jak to cenově stojí, ale u těch dražších by to mělo být. Kolik týmů kvalne na lanku? 20. Jo, takže jestli ten batoh nemáte, tak zapněte když tak Twitch a na Twitchi sledujte půl hodiny oficiální Fortnite stream a dostanete ho. Je to batoh z Chapter 6 Season 1, takže z minulého roku. Nevím, proč neudělali novej, dali prostě stejnej, no. Lukásku, díky za follow. Tak jdem, borci, koukat. Já teda fonko vypnu a pojďme koukat. Za 10 minut nám to začíná přibližně. Let's go. Tak já to refresh, tak nemáme delay, tabulku nechám zaplout, Twitter tady teoreticky budu moc vypnout a let's go. Určitě zazdáme i první hry na Rezona a tak, jako to bylo včera. Já tady ještě dropnu tu mapu. Na YouTube. Alright. Tak dotazy? Jakýkoliv dotazy, chat? Nemůžu posunout. No to je jedno. My koukáme přes oficiální stream a landing koukáme na Rezona. Takhle dneska. I včera jsme koukali. Čo Tomáši? Budeš sledovat dneska v 11 Ameriku? Hele, Ameriku asi ne. Koukal jste někdo včera Ameriku? Amerika prý Klix dominoval, no, včera. Nějaký win tam přidal. Klixovi se dařilo. Já jiskám ten batoh, sledovat půl hodiny stream na Twitchi. Půl hodiny stream na oficiálním Twitchi. Já bych na ten odpočet posunul, to je jedno. Let's go, 6 minut. Proč Huty to nestočí, když mu tam padá Shark? Ale nakonec to včera dopadlo tak, že polovinu jakoby z těch her mi přišlo, že jako oni vyhráli a druhou polovinu ne. A ukázali i tak, že jako na to mají tam padat. Takže já si myslím, že by tu taktiku neměli nějak extra jako měnit a měli by padat přibližně furt to stejný. Jo, když už to prostě mají první den za sebou, tak proč úplně měnit landing, no. Sabe, dík za follow. Co myslíš, Master? Myslíš to? Master retweetl sám to? Díky moc. Na X-ku. Já jsem si musel Master kvůli tomu koupit Twitter X-ko Premium, aby to mělo lepší kvalitu. Takže díky, Master. Dejte mi vaše predikty, jak to dneska dopadne. Málo tě slyšíme, mám se dát víc na hlas? Na dnešek jsem se těšil, jako po včerejšku, jak to dopadlo, tak na dnešek jsem se těšil ještě víc. Huty se kvalifikoval taky nebo ne? Huty po včerejšku 14. místo s F1HYXem. Dneska, když skončí top 20, příští měsíc na konci května, je uvidíme v Německu. V Německu je uvidíme hrát. Tečko, díky za follow na TikToku. Huty F1HYX 14. borci, 14. Tady je tabulka, 14. Huty F1HYX 14. 167 bodů. 167 bodů po 6 hrách. Win tam mají. Takže typujete kolik? Top 15, top 8. Nespamuj bublino, prosím. Top 10 budou třetí. F1HYX Huty top 9, OK. Podle mě tu top 20 by mohli si pohlídat. Tu top 20 by si mohli pohlídat. A kdyby je to Německo, je to na konci května. Je to na konci května v Německu, no. Patriku, dík za follow. Takže to je tabulka, tu budeme vždycky updateovat, koukat. Tady máte price pool. Aktuálně Huty F1HYX si zatím odnášejí $8,000, takže každý 4,000. Takže přibližně kolik to vychází? 80-90 tisíc? Skoro 100, no. Skoro 100 pro jednoho. To je nice. Já jsem si to dotáhnul do top 13. Top 20, ale top 20 musíme doufat. Když budou 20. 19. tam jakoby, jo, tak jde o pár jako rozdílných peněz, ale tam jde hlavně o to, aby postoupili, no. Nevím, jestli tady na session se ukazuje price pool správně, jo. No jako 20. místo má 1750. A pak teda top 19 2000, no, ale hlavně ať postoupí, no. Hlavně ten postup. Hlavně postup, ať mají. Ukáž, rezon. Ten to zapíná už. S tím se vlastně nestřetli, že? Včera. Kolikátý je Shark? Můžeme kouknout na celou tabulku zatím. Tak tady máte teda celou tabulku, jo? První je Sky Scroll, pak je Pablo, Scary, Malibuka, Tomas, Panzer, Jabko, Janis. 7. místo. Kami 9. Flixy 10. Nepso je před Hutym a F1HYXem 13. Rezon. Ty skončili za nima o bod. Teď si myslím, že dneska někdo nepostoupí o bod, to by bylo hodně unlucky. Shark je 21. no. Kdyby to takhle dneska skončilo, tak Shark nepostoupil o bod, no. Cringe Volko 20. Nero 24. Moneymaker 27. A takhle to pokračuje, no. Ale věřím jim, že top 20 padne. Když se nic extra nepokazí, tak top 20 padne. Jdeme na to. To jsou Grand Finals nebo Finals? Je to jakoby Major 1 Finals. A v Německu je potom jako úplně velké finále. Lanka. Irfane, dík za follow. Třeba věřit přesně. My jsme včera věřili a dopadlo to. I když to na začátku nemuselo vypadat. První hra za chvilku. Alex, dík za follow. Haky si dík za follow. Zatím se ještě můžete rychle skočit na záchod. Pro pití. Než začne first game. Máro, dík za follow. Mixi, dík za follow. Huty se kvalifikoval do Saudy. Jo, to byl ale Reload Cup, to ani nevím, jak dopadlo. Jestli někdo z CZSK scény postoupil, Ježíš, kde to bylo? V té Saudské Arábii nebo kde? Reloady? World Cup? Nebo to teprve bude probíhat? To ani nevím, to jsem nějak úplně mysnul. Áro, dík za follow. Top kolik postupuje? 20 nejlepších duo týmů. Mám pocit, že ne. Podle mě, kdyby postoupil někdo z CZSK, tak o tom víme. Že by se o tom jako mluvilo. Jako o tady tom FNCSku, že jo? Bude taky dík za follow. Koukám, že v OG, nebo ne, v Reload módu byl nějaký mini event. Osm, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Udělej si popcorn. Ještě mi řekněte, jestli zvuk je v pohodě.
is day 2 of the FNCS Europe Major 1 finals. There are 20 spots up for grabs for
Nic
Europe
moc zvuk.
at
Co,
the Major
jsem
1
moc potichu?
Summit LAN finals in Düsseldorf. So make sure you keep your eyes locked in because we're going to send some people to Germany
Slavík za
today.
follow. Zdenku za follow. Čoho mají znal? Proč to není Peter Bot? Amerika. Teď je to v pohodě se mnou? Slyšíme se, je to tak akorát? Akorát slyšet zvuk a já? Však abych to ještě změnil. Já to slyším v pohodě, ale nevím, jak to máte teď vy, jste v OK, jestli takhle můžu nechat. Je to v pohodě, jo? Někdo na Twitchi napsal do chatu ahoj kočko. Kde, teď? Jako když to bylo offline, nebo teď, když to zapli? Tady píšou, ale už tady píšou restart Grant, no. To je ta Amerika, že?
It's going to be incredibly interesting and I think
kvůli tomu, jak omylem diskvalifikovali špatně ty hráče. Buga, no. Jako když jsem to včera viděl, že Buga by používal cheaty na FNCS, jsem si říkal, kámo, WTF? Na FNCS by Buga používal cheaty?
Chino, obviously, who was sort of landing towards the east, Sires and Scary, who had a very surprisingly good day 1, landing a bit further south. Then you have the likes of Thomas and Focus Mini, who were in 5th, and Sky and Scroll, obviously our leading team on the day. They are obviously landing at Battlewood Boulevard. Now let's look at where the zones pulled, because there was a lot of conversation online about, hey, we're expecting Sky and Scroll to do good. Hold on a minute, Pablo and Chino may be doing a bit better than we were all expecting them to do. I wonder why that is. And you look at the zones and you start to think, they had a bit of an easier day, you could argue.
Yeah, especially with this new surge, well, this makes it a lot easier to actually play your game when the zone does pull right where your drop spot is. In Pablo and Chino's case, that is exactly true. You can see exactly where they land, just there at in the sort of middle of those three circles, and it's gonna make it a lot easier, right? Let's not discredit what they've done. They did an amazing job yesterday, but it does make it a lot easier.
Byla finální zóna, šestá hra nahoře, no.
There in the top left of the screen, that was their bad game. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they can do today. But I think it almost highlights how good Sky and Scroll did yesterday as well, because they
budeš to překládat, nevím moc anglicky. Jako mohl bych to zapnout na YouTube s titulkama, no. Ale ve zkratce mluví prostě o včerejšku. Tady máš teď, když to vidím, tady máš prostě 6 her, kde byly finální zóny a mluví o tom prostě, jak to včera vypadalo. To je škoda, kdybychom byli v tom Německu, kdyby to dopadlo, tak jsme to mohli tam komentovat s Alkanem a nebyli by tam tady ty komentátoři, ale měli bychom takhle jako stream, bez toho, aby tam mluvili tajti. A vlastně tam myslím, že šlo i přímo záběr na Hutyho a na F1HYX, že by byl, kdyby se tam dostali. Tak třeba příště. Už tě Master vidím v chatu, to jsi tam napsal ty? Pojď si uvědomil, že mluví anglicky. Jako nejsem profík v angličtině, ale kam ho překládat celý anglický stream?
Yeah, they really were. They were clutching up as duos. We had some solo clutches as well. They played their consistent game. And when I went back and watched a lot of their games from yesterday, in every single one of their games, they were staying so far back in the Storm. They were staying in Storm sort of that 4th, 5th zone transition. And in every single game, they were just skipping all of that mid game. They weren't getting involved in those mid game fights. They weren't losing damage critically in those mid game fights as well. They were staying so far back in the Storm. So if we're watching them today, which I imagine we will be doing a lot, keep an eye out for them staying inside the Storm.
Ne, titulky. Na YouTube jsou titulky. A to je stejně, my to přepínáme. Ale německy neumím, sorry. Jako německy to překládat nebudu, němčina není moje silná stránka. Měl jsem němčinu 2 roky na základce a nepamatuju si skoro nic z té němčiny. Jak myslíte, že dopadne první landing, chat? Landing, první hra. Kdo bude dominovat? Shark duo nebo Huty duo? Poslední hru dali win, že? Jo, včera poslední hra byla win, yes. Včera byla poslední hra win. Když se na to ještě podíváme, tak oni měli včera poslední hru, první místo 8 eliminací. 8 eliminací padlo. Ahoj Báro.
I know argue I'd want to see a bit more from them, right? You know, they had the same exact average placement than Sky and Scroll had. But they actually were averaging lesser limbs, which I think most people maybe wouldn't expect out of those two, right? You almost expect these guys to have a bit more firepower, a bit more aggressive in those moments and get more limbs. So hopefully they can show us that side of their game today.
Well, Levin, now you've mentioned aggression, it's made me think of Sires and Scary, because similar to Pablo and Chino, right? They actually had some great zones. They land a swift shard, but they were putting up a fantastic fight as well.
I think these guys are the perfect example of, you know, a team who
Poláci sehnali jedno, nám se to nepodařilo. My jsme menší zemička, no, co se dá dělat, no.
I mean, there were so many situations where like these guys were put in positions where you could go, yeah, they got a good zone here or there, you know, they got a nice pullback on one of the half and half zones. But then they would just fight people and be aggressive, and they weren't playing scared.
Mají reálně na to posun, hlavně top 20, hlavně top 20. Udržet. A na ně můžeme koukat, fandit příští měsíc. Rezon padá, Korál částečně benzínku. Korál částečně benzínku dropujou. Huty a F1HYX čtvrté místo. Typuješ, že budou celkově čtvrtý, jo? Na čtvrtý místo by aktuálně potřebovali 246 bodů, to znamená, no, 80 bodů. To teď, když dají jako win, tak rázem jako budou určitě top 10, no to jo. No to budou i, no, 7., 6. rázem budou, no. No, 7. Když dají win, hned 7. jsou. Takže jako jo. Mají to dobře rozehraný, no, po včerejšku. Kdyby včera nepadl ten win, tak by asi byli, no, kdyby včera nedali win, tak by byli někde tady, třeba 27., 26., něco takového. 97 bodů dali tu poslední hru, jo? No, to jim hodně pomohlo, no. To by bylo, no, 30. klidně by byli, no. 167 možná ještě níž, ty, jo. Někde tady, no, okolo té 30, takže to jim hodně pomohlo ten win. A to jsme viděli, první 3 hry se třeba tolik nepodařily, ale je vidět, že když prostě potom tu jednu dobrou hru dáte, tak jste hned jako back díky tomu. Což se naštěstí podařilo, no.
All the zones in Fortnite, if you guys didn't know that. So hopefully Zeke can give Thomas some favorable zones today and we can.
Let's go, první raz za 6 minut. No to je za 5 minut, protože Rezon nemá delay. A ti dík za 41 měsíců.
Let's chat though about the changes to Net Surge or Storm Surge. It's become Net Surge, I should say, for this season. It's clearly made an impact on all the players in the lobby. Some are coping better than others. And Mini Miner, can you talk to us actually about some of the changes that we've seen?
Mě víc baví endgame, tak endgame je nejlepší, to je jasný vždycky. Dostanou lobby, hned první landing, snad ne. Top 20 bude přibližně 240 bodů, tam to bylo 250 až 300 bodů, že je na postup. 250 až 300 bodů na postup, to znamená, když budou mít 200 páďo, to je nějakých těch 90 bodů, vlastně win, kdyby dali ještě jeden, tak by to už jako skoro měli mít top 20. No s velkou pravděpodobností jo, no. Když by to bylo zase 80-90 bodů, tak už mají 200 pade. Tak snad.
Ano, dobrý den.
Krásný den, opožděnej alert. Kdy bude hra? Za chvilku. Ojoj. Nějaký problém? Nejde se jim napojit? Včera taky jeden tým to nestihli napojit první hru. First game.
Kann das sein? Ich kann nicht hinweiten, no. Ja, dann join ich bei dir jetzt. Mach ready? Okay? Mach ready.
Dneska bude ten event v reloadu. Ono už to nějak začalo, že tam začali střílet na tu loď.
Digga.
Nedropl právě N-word. Ah.
Ey, mit der ersten Runde nicht kommt, die Vibes sind tot, bro.
Ne, snad ne.
Dann komm. Bist du da unten gleich?
Here today, they have the opportunity to
Přepnu to hned, tak bude mít landing.
that Levin had just kind of referenced.
And I'm hoping that we see it. We could maybe see more sneaky plays, even some of the most aggressive players have had difficult tournaments all over the world, not just in EU, but looking here at players like Sharkantini. I mean, these are incredibly aggressive players, and when you kind of have to focus on not taking damage as much as doing it,
nejsou to sety, které bych si prostě koupil.
See what mix-ups we see. Even from Swizzy, we saw him practicing the off spawn, so I'm hoping to see.
Už to napojuje? Ještě ne, ještě ne. Tenhle ten skin, to je Galaxy skin to je Galaxy skin z kapitoly 4. Tam byl turnaj i o emotikon a ty dostali pouze ti, kteří to vyhráli. Na mobilu, to bylo na mobilu ještě no, chapter 4 v létě. To je docela crazy si pamatovat podle skinu, co to bylo konkrétně za sezónu a turnaj a tak, ty vole, ale jo no. A pak dostala bonusový styl vlastně. To je bonusový styl, který tenhle se tolik nepoužívá, mi přijde.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, okay. No,
Top 4 a celkem top 10. Hlavně postup dneska. Nedostanu icon skin, nedostanu. Kdyby si mohl do jakéhokoliv e-sport týmu, jaký by to byl, asi žádnej. Asi žádnej, protože... My jsme to řešili, nějaký ty e-sportový týmy, ty kráso, před několika lety. Tyjo, jeden jsme řešili, to byla ještě kapitola 2, ale to nakonec nedopadlo. Nebudu říkat, ale to bylo v kapitole 2 ještě. F1HYX za follow. Ale já víš co, já nejsem prohráč, já jsem content creator, takže ty e-sport týmy tolik jako neřeším. Ale když seš hráč, tak jasný. Nepoznáš Nikzaky za follow. Rezon má menší delay, takže koukneme na jeho landing a pak jdem koukat přes Ofiko Fortnite. Ty nám když tak dají hned záběr na Hutyho.
Hopefully they can sort of get a grip on things and figure things out, but ultimately.
A ještě za tu dobu, co tady jsem na té scéně, tady se vystřídalo tolik týmů. Jo, tady se vystřídalo tolik týmů a mně přijde, že ty týmy prostě tak dlouhou dobu nevydržejí u toho Fortniteu. Tady se vystřídalo tolik různých týmů a většinou po několika, já nevím, měsících to většinou skončí, pak jsou zase nějaký jiný. Za tu dobu, co tady jsem, neviděl jsem jako žádný tým, který by tady tak dlouhou dobu vydržel, no. Kdyby jo, tak třeba potom bych jako reálně uvažoval, OK, ty tady jsou už jako dlouhou dobu, chtěli by mě třeba jako content creatora, OK, ale bohužel, no. Třeba se to v budoucnu změní, co my víme, že jo. Uvidíme. Pokud ty postoupí a Shark ne, tak budou největší clicksater na Americe. Káme si Shark nepostoupí kvůli Huty, to bude vtipný. Ale jo, ať to tak dopadne. Tak to chceme. Tak to chceme.
But we know how hard it can be when you're landing at a spot that's central to then have to completely switch up the idea about how you're going to play the game and recover the game.
Kde to sleduješ? Oficiální Fortnite stream. Máme minutu, takže už by možná měl mít landing ten, ne? Rezon, ukáž? Čo Petře? Jo, let's go, jdem na první hru, borci. Doufám, jste ready. Připravený na fandění, aby jsme Huty a F1HYXe do toho Německa posunuli. Částečně. Hele, PVR, to klidně řeknu, PVR tým, to jsem dokonce jako řešil, že jestli by nechtěli někoho z CZSK scény, už taky někdy v kapitole 2, ale to nedopadlo. Oni, víš co, PVR tým, to je taková spíš jako, to je tým, co mi přijde jako kámošů, že tam jsou lidi, kteří se poznají a jsou to hlavně ty borci z Austrálie, jo. Takže tak. Jdeme na to. První hra. Ale PVR tým je nice, no.
Ankom.
Tady lítá kolik, jestli se to nezměnilo, tak tady by měli mít zase tým až 2. Jako to bylo včera. Když tak Master klidně nějaký spoilery máš. Ne banuj, ale máš to. Kolikátý je F1HYX za Huty? 14. po včerejšku. Teď dneska dalších 6 her. Na to za chvilku přepneš tak na Ofiko Fonko. A nám ukážu Huty, jo. A F1HYXe. A to by mohli, protože autobus letěl ze zhora hned, že? Tady nikoho nemá, já to přepnu, ukáž. Ještě čekaj. Uvidíme, jestli budou nějaký změny dropu, no, po včerejšku.
Ja.
25? Hat sie nicht gehittet, oder?
Nee.
25 auf ihn. Aber er hat auch Shake ausgeschossen, der war irgendwo close.
2 týmy padaly, že? Včera s Rezonem. Jo, Jinxky, to byly ty Jinxky padaly. A ten druhý tým jsme už pořádně neviděli, protože to už bylo později. Ale Jinxky padaly landing, no, s nima.
Ja. Er hat dahin geschossen. Aber alles.
Už? Let's go. Let's go!
Wonky Land. Things were really starting to heat up yesterday. Sharktini definitely falling short of the expectations that the entire community and those even outside of EU had sort of placed upon these two.
F1HYX, hned te vypněte. První hru.
Having really, you know, ticked all the boxes and doing their homework, making sure that they came super prepared to try and overthrow Sharktini from the POI. But this has been a conversation that started in the off-season, and it's not going to stop anytime soon.
To není dobrý, jak má tenhle ten high.
Sharktini, though, gathered a little bit of their bearings around them. Teeny kind of just waiting for the prime opportunity to strike, looking for some of those opening shots, opening blows.
Aspoň
good
teď o
tags
tom
there
vědí.
onto Fishy, but still not enough for him to feel comfortable with trying to go in for the full-on attack.
We saw a lot of confidence going from Sharktini, not just in these major finals, but Div Cups, scrims, all sorts of opportunities where they kind of had the chance to
Máme toho Rezona, takže jeden tým padal takhle napravo.
I'm curious to see how that changes here in day 2.
Mají dobrou lokaci, no, sami pro sebe.
There's going to be some teams that are going for those surprise contested situations. Nebs,
Neměli,
Nathan,
oni měli landing.
Review here how Nathan was able to clutch things up for him and his duo.
Se nevšiml těch eliminací.
Even though Adapted Extra tried to interrupt them over at Humble Hills, those opening eliminations, it still bodes pretty well for their net surge overall.
Proč to není na Legends Landing, jako přímo ve Fortniteu na mapě?
One of those teams where you never really know what their next move is going to be. The only thing that's for certain right now here today, Takada, is that they're going to continue going on tour. It was unfortunate that they lost their original POI drop with TikTok Terrace, but game is game. And sometimes for pros, you have to make those on-the-fly adaptations. And one big thing for Darm Demish is their strategy just really seems to be reminiscent of that OG Misha Teeny strat, where they're the ones that are looking for those ambush attacks on teams, interrupting their loot paths, and it makes perfect sense. They're very competent fighters, and they had about half their matches yesterday where they really got to play out the end games.
F1HYX Finals Huty F1HYX. Druhý den. První hra.
When you don't actually have a home to call your own.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say comfortably in the top
Huty žije s F1HYXem pohodička. Mají tam Shark duo, no. Včera to bylo tak půl na půl.
The estimates we were saying around 250 to 300 when the day ends. But let's see if this strategy of kind of going all over the map pays off. Demish Storm actually did land.
Byl to jeden tým, co padal vedle Hutyho, ten už nepadá, což je nice. Vlastně ten třetí tým tam podle mě ze včerejška dopadl nejhůř, ne? Tím, že už tam zemřeli nejvíckrát ten třetí tým, no, proto to asi změnili. Nebo? Nebo bylo to 2-2-2? Ale si změnili landing, nějaký důvod měli, no. S tom stroč může být problém, musí nějakou damage získat taky potom. Hele, Shark a Huty F1HYX.
Sharktini on the other hand, they're ready to strike. Wonky Land really starting to heat up already here in game 7.
Přepněte, let's go.
Here's the thing, Teeny and Shark. Buddy and
Huty F1HYX, Huty F1HYX.
They stole your placement yesterday. I mean, they played the reverse Uno card on these guys. And now they're trying to take their chain back. Wonky Land
Huty záběr je legendární SMGčko, včera dal dobrou tím SMGčkem.
As long as Huty and Fishy exist in the lobbies that they are also participants to, that's just not going to be feasible.
This is a big match for both of these players. And there's not any all-out aggression
mají 2 eliminace hned.
They can't fully split it either. We're seeing how that goes. Darmdemish, though, have picked up Darkos. There was a lot of third parties in the surrounding area, but from what I'm seeing is it looks like they might have just made it out.
Must have been an unfortunate outcome there for Minori early on, since it was just Darkos lurking by himself. Scary inside, though. This might be a big part of the reason why Darmdemish left the actual vicinity of Builder's Barracks, because third-party intervention is always going to be a prime issue for every single one of these duos. Scary. Now trying to see if he can get the wraparound. The confidence, though, really starting to showcase itself after yesterday.
8 bodíků hned na začátek, to bylo nice.
What took place.
Ale hlavně přežít do lejtu.
Insane solo clutches that we've ever seen in a finals lobby, but as a just tinkering around in these lower layers. Nowhere really left for him to run, though. He's kind of getting pinched from both Scary and Saya as separate angles approach.
Vaše tipy, chat, tuhle hru, kolikátý dopadnou? Ne celkově, ale tuhle hru. Váš tip. GG.
It's a 1v1 as that has completely turned this fight around.
Já tipuju...
Sayas trying to sneak his way out.
Doufám v top 20 na první hru. Top 20.
Oh no!
It just doesn't matter. Aza defends home base, and that is going to be a detrimental blow already to our third place team on the leaderboard. When you talk about the metrics, the ripple effects, it makes it so much more feasible for somebody in forward like Vika Malabuka to overtake, but looking at these initial opening shots, that was just a nasty
my jsme vlastně neviděli pořádně, jak ten high získali.
But the fact that he was able to even break through in the first place in that 1 versus 2,
tady ten druhý nebo třetí duo tým.
You just cannot be losing those 2v1s, especially in the early game.
3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 5, 1, 2, 5 je
not only a top 3, I mean, this was contenders coming up on top, and I mean, the zone was even pulling towards them once again.
No ty F1HYX vlastně mají dobrý, to jsou nejblíž k zóně, no. Můžeme se čekat. Ty vole, ale jak oni půjdou do sebe, tak tam potom přiběhne ten další tým, to je blbý. To by mohlo blbě dopadnout, no. Pro oba týmy.
I'll tell you one thing. That's the problem, Takada. Still here. We're in the third zone.
Mají automat, nice. Nebo ne? Měli by mít automat, no.
Who's actually coming out on top for this off spawn, and granted, Wonkyland is one of those POIs that you can split and still see both duos have a pretty dominant performance from, but at the end of the day, you know that's not what either of these teams are interested in.
Ne, myslím, tohle je dobrý na Storm Search, no. Jak tady budou dlouho.
And for Sharktini especially, they've got a rep to rebuild, because yesterday's performance was just, it was just not indicative of what we've seen from them all throughout the off-season. And here in this Grand Finals lobby, day 2, it'd be your best chance to get a little recovery tour going.
Vole, no to není dobrý, no.
Kind of overstayed their welcome.
Mimo zónu.
Making themselves a little bit more susceptible even to potentially getting third-partied. I mean, you have to remember, there's still Quek and Mydro over by Toybox Docks that could decide to mosey on over once they hear some of those shots starting to ring out, and it's very believable that other teams would be drawn to the area.
To ještě tak přepnu, když půjdu do sebe.
Going back over to our number 1 duo, though. They've been playing with each other for so long.
Všichni mimo zónu.
As Minnie was saying on the desk earlier, one thing to highlight from Sky and
Pro 16. To by bylo super na první hru. První hra top 20, top 25. Tam od top 25 jsou placement body.
And they still only had
Malibuka.
one match outside of the top 10 throughout the whole
Dropuje
day.
rukavice? Ne. Jack.
So we can expect to see them keep that consistency up. Honestly, no matter where the zone goes, I guess if we got like all north zoned pulls today, it could look a little difficult, but Vico Malabuka, I'm happy to see them in 4th place. They had a interesting time in heats, but seeing them here in set lobbies
Tady máme Sharka nalevo a on to taky stáhli. A tady je rázem čtvrtý tým, no, který jako je bokem, ale jsou taky mimo zónu. Párečku jich za follow.
To really see if they can make some big leaps to play catch up with Sky and Scroll, but FlixY Chap, another one of those teams that you can 100% expect to not be content with their current placement on the leaderboard. They are trying to go up, 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 and I mean, starting off over uncontested at Storm Station.
Další hráči mimo zónu.
It's a very northbound position. Zones though, I don't think that was their primary issue after yesterday. I think it's really just about smoothing out
zóna vpravo. Huty a F1HYX, ty jsou... Podle to jsou Tajti, ne? Nebo Tajti ještě? Tajti anebo Tajti. Včera měli světle zelenou barvu, ale dneska by měli, myslím, mít jinou. Tajti nebo Tajti. To jsem se měl podívat, ty vole, když byli v té zóně. Nevíte, jakou mají barvu? Jakou mají barvu ty šipky?
But I mean, look. The good news is, I'd hope that they took the time to kind of do the homework and prepare for this. Scroll though, picking up another elim.
Jako oni teď akorát tu první hru ukazovali dost lidí mimo zónu. Včera ukazovali, včera neukazovali mimo zónu tolik hráčů hned první hru.
That is actually wicked work there, though. Sky Scroll not going to complain about 4 additional elimination points here. Yapko Panzer, a team that is just inside that top 20 threshold currently, but obviously there's more at stake than just that LAN qualification spot for the Major One Summit. Everybody wants to also earn as much prizing as they can from this Major One Grand Finals, and for Yapko and Panzer.
Dobrý, no. A tady naštěstí už Huty a F1HYX není, ty už jsou v zóně. Bo spíš šli do zóny. Ty už taky letěj. Tak a kde je F1HYX Huty? Ty už šli do zóny, no. Naštěstí. Bojím se ale, že nemají na damage na Storm Search, no. Budou muset něco dát v zóně.
Surviving Wonky Land is going to net a nice endgame.
Thing is, yeah, it's more than just winning Wonky Land.
To jsem viděl, no, budeš moc si refounout ty David věci.
Rotation opportunities with the Wonky.
Ale Hestíku už to asi nevrátí nikdy. Takže bych to nevracel, nechal bych to v lokeru. Huty je noklej, ne. GG. Huty je mrtvej. F. Tady je F1HYX.
And a better place on the leaderboard, but speak of Huty and Fishy, both players now have gone down.
Kdo je poslal Malibuka, ty vole.
They're gonna be the ones.
Tak první hra nevyšla, no. F-ko.
Malibuka and Vika, I mean, hey, you encroach upon their territory over at Frigid Fortress.
To je škoda ten landing, no, na začátku. Tam byli dost dlouhou dobu. Ani tu damage neměli, že jo, no. Škoda. Ale nic to neznamená, chat, nic to neznamená. Viděli jsme včera. Poslední hra. Úplně to otočili, takže první hra nic ještě extra neznamená. Ale je to škoda, pochopitelně. Takže teď v tabulce se trochu propadnou, no.
Search threshold, trying to play catch up right now. Last we saw Chris Buka and XZ, they were also another one of those duos that was just underneath
F1HYX dead, bohužel.
Search threshold, which is probably a big part of the reason why they forced that fight against Yapko and Panzer to begin with, but Catry and Jude.
43. byli, jestli se nemýlím.
How long do you really intend to try and wait this one out? Only 25 below. The last medkit being used right now, even from Jude, has a couple of small shield potions, but really has to depend on Catry to find a shot.
To vidím snad poprvé, že by někdo používal Save the World skin v FNCSku Finals.
Just collapsing fully onto Ju's duo. Ju gonna come crashing into their box, but just doesn't have any health to work with, and the surge will take care of them.
Jsou taky v pytli na damage, no. Takhle by dopadl Huty F1HYX, no. Ty taky damage neměli.
Vico playing solo, 145 below. Trying to fish up anything to help him heal up here. How did this happen?
145 below.
That surge is a very fickle beast to contend with.
Riperino, to bude det na Storm Surge. 75 below.
Duo, after yesterday's performance, whether good or bad, everyone has had to reevaluate where they build their surge from. And even experienced teams like Vico, like Malabuka, it's very realistic for them to struggle.
GG.
It's a new mechanic and just too much for Vico to try and contend with
je
this
furt
time.
šance včera ty první 3 hry nebyly nejlepší. A pak začali dominovat a rázem boom 14.
It is only game 7. We still have plenty more matches still to go.
That we do. Yannis cheating 7th place on the leaderboard. Looking incredibly healthy going into this late game. They've had pretty favorable zones as well.
Kolikátý budou po té týře tím pádem, no? To se asi propadnou na tu 20 něco. Tam záleží, jaký je rozdíl podle těch bodů. Vlastně Rezon to chyběl jim 1 bod, takže ty asi půjdou předně, ty by měli žít. No. Tamhle je Shark nalevo. Moneymaker, opička taky žije.
Sharktini also just below on their damage threshold, applying even further pressure onto Chap.
Budou první XD, ty krása. No to asi už nedají, tam mají, ten první má velký náskok. Na druhý místo snad 100 bodů, nebo kolik to je, 90. Hlavně top 20, no.
It's those micro mechanics that can make a pretty big difference later on. Nice tag onto Medius too, but 83 above, they're still gonna have to get active. They're gonna have to get fraggy, and if there's a duo that you want to see get fraggy in the first place, it's gotta be Sharkantini.
I want the confidence to be fully built back up though.
323 below taky nemají dobrý. On je vlastně sám, co Flixy už je dead. To je hodně below.
I was talking about it yesterday. This is a team that had really high expectations going into 2026, and they just haven't quite lived up to it in terms of how the placements have been, but they have the experience. The issue is
to je konec.
Kicking it off like this, going down top 30.
No pak drží high zatím. No, to není výrazný high od nikoho. Zona se nám trošku přesouvá na kopec. Rezon má eliminaci.
Don't believe that they have ultimate height established just yet.
Seems
like they're gonna wait things out temporarily.
To jestli to nevyhráli náhodou první hru Shark? Ne, oni... Myslím, že první hru ale skončili dost dobře. To se podíváme potom do té tabulky. První nebo druhou hru skončili dost dobře.
Looking decent, but
Huty F1HYX dead, bohužel.
It's always a little bit more cautious for how you want to proceed. Even if you got surge now, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to maintain it when you make the next rotate.
Kira only duo that was ahead.
Sky skoro vyhráli první hru, ale oni nevyhráli, oni asi byli druzí nebo třetí, že byli dost late. Koukneme potom v tabulce.
One of the teams that has still been
Zona nám jede, ty mají 139 above.
Gino Pablo though, they have another opportunity at a big match.
Tanking, just a couple of ticks of storm. Might make for a late attempt, slightly later rotate, but it looks like disaster has struck here. Pablo and Chino, while they're waiting for the opportunity,
Moneymaker dead.
They're going to be the ones seized
Rezon má další eliminaci.
Looking to fight things out, but Reason, no, Riley, desperate there. Not going to come crashing into Pablo's box just yet, but Pablo's not careful. They might choose to follow him. Will manage to actually navigate his way towards the front side of zone, but as a solo in this kind of position, you just got to be so paranoid because teams, one layer above, one layer below, you never know when someone's going to come running right at you. And Skyjump Momsy seems like they want to take more control of this ultimate low ground. Saw just how fruitful it was for Sky and Scroll in yesterday's performances.
Tak pak má Yannis, ojoj. Tak schválně si to udržej.
Ghosty cleaning up Dina's backside of the zone. Thomas and Focus though, they've got their eyes set on the prize and it's just making sure that they cut off Sure4 and repairs, but they've already managed to tarp further ahead. Pablo's still looking for eliminations And we've seen Pablo do it before, Takada. The solo clutch factor is definitely there, but how much more placement, how many more eliminations can he realistically secure from this point?
Currently top 16. Issue is he only has 3 builds. Sharktini, this is what we've been waiting for. They're running low on mats. They're going to need to look for some refreshes. Sky Scroll in a similar situation. Issue is backside of zone now. Looking for options. Yanis cheating. Holden, height, strong. So far, no teams have contested them, but it looks like Shark has gone down. Teeny is left all alone. Pablo still able to clutch this up, gets a nice refresh, and now has a chance to continue forwards.
The Shark man just stopping him in his tracks. Teeny also going to be brought to a fall. Thomas and Focus.
No jsou v Německu, zatím to nemá ještě. 250 až 300 bodů na to, aby byli 20. Na postup do Německa. Takže body ještě chybějí. Ale je to hratelný.
Looking to get a big shot onto Nebs, doesn't actually get the full knock though, just takes out his shields. He is not healthy on the low ground, but Thomas and Focus, they find Sky. That's gonna be 9 eliminations already for Thomas and Focus. They're cranking things up a notch here. Looking to maybe drop another layer, potentially see if they can play cleanup crew to those teams in the ultimate low ground, or just let them collide against each other, but Repairs and Sherper. The consistent pressure. Thomas doesn't have any more builds. He can't afford to go for the top. He's forced to transition to ultimate low. Thomas though gets the shot, but Nathan gonna put him in the dirt. Nathan and Nebs. Another double elimination team. Looking to try and close this one out.
Almost at 100 points in a single match, but the issue is his teammate is down. Cringe now, trying to see if he can continue his momentum from when he kicked things off yesterday in game 1, but he is gonna go down.
Sherper's gonna be the first one to drop. Repairs still applying pressure from overhead. They've just got to track down Nathan, but he can't withstand the storm.
Vlastně na konci, no. Kolik tam měli 100 bodů? No. 100 bodů za jednu hru. Tohle vlastně, když dá Huty F1HYX, kdyby dali, tak mají 200 páďo na postup. Takže pojďme se podívat po 7 hrách na tabulku. Sky Scroll 432 bodů, první místo. Takže ten náskok se jim trochu zmenšil. Pablo, ty jsme teď viděli na konci, druzí. Tomas, ty jsme teď taky viděli, jak zemřeli, 331 bodů, třetí místo. Pak tam máme další. Nebs, 6. místo, Malibuka 7. Malibuka vypil tuhle hru Hutyho a F1HYXe, ty skončili 39. Je to tak? Je to tak. Janis 10. místo, Rezon 13. ty se posunuli. Ty byli, že jo, za Hutym. A Huty je aktuálně po 7 hrách 18. Takže Huty má zatím postup s F1HYXem, ale mají pouze 7 bodů rezervu, což po té hře je jasný, že když to nedopadne, tak půjdou pod top 20, takže musíme doufat, že teď dopadne dobře ta hra. Flixy 16. místo, Kami 15. Shark 14. Shark vlastně ty byly dost nízko, ne? Shark se vystřelil, no, tým. Shark a Teny, tyjo. Nero, pak tady jsou další. Takhle to vypadá. Takže zatím 18. Takže ze 14. místa na 18. po první hře. Škoda. Protože vlastně tuhle hru neměli ani bod. Tahle hra bez bodu. Ale to nic ještě neznamená, chat. Půjdeme na druhou dnešní hru za chvilku.
Yeah, looking nice and clean from these guys, so let's see what they can do in the next 5 games. We will be back in a few minutes though, gang, because we need to take a short break when we come back.
Je tam Mongrasavič? Ne. Tak snad teď to dopadne lépe, no. No nespadli, no tak byli 14 a měli trošku větší náskok, no, teď ten náskok ztratili na tu top 20, no. Ale to teď dají dobrou hru, 2,5 minuty. Zatím si dojděte na záchod nebo pro něco k pití, k jídlu, než nám začne druhá hra. Z 30, kolik bylo? 200 pade, že? 200 pade na postup, no. Je jeden win, no, když dají win, 90 bodů plus, tak by to měli mít. 200 pade, aktuálně je top 7. Což by 250 přibližně mělo stačit na postup. Sešívaný, dík za follow. To jsou grants? Yes. No, jakoby je to Major 1 Finals. A potom to obrovské finále je příští měsíc v Německu. Kdyby Huty trochu pušoval, tak by ani moc nespadly. Tak ono to není jednoduchý, ono se to takhle jako jednoduše třeba říká, píše, jo, ale kdybys byl v té pozici, tak taky chceš hrát na jistotu a nechceš skapat, no. Ale uvidíme teď druhou hru. Škoda, že tam malý buka, no, je sejmul. Co to je? Proč vypadá jak Minecraft? To je Minecraft? What the fuck? Reklama na mlíko s Minecraftem? Co to sakra? Na Fortnite streamu? Huh? To byl Minecraft. Teď by to chtělo top 25, no, ať mají ty placementy, nějaký eliminace k tomu. Ať tu top 20 udržej. Je to risk, že zemřeš, no, chceš vydržet do lejtu, ale potřebuješ i tu damage na tu Storm Surge. Jak nemáš damage, tak jsi potom v lejtu v háji, no, pak musíš střílet a většinou s velkou pravděpodobností nepřežiješ, no. Daniel Čus, dík za follow. Kolikátá hra, druhá, mám to někde napsat?
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, look, I think, you know, Thomas and Focus obviously were asking for better zones here in day 2. They would have obviously seen that zone mini and gone, all right, we're not going to get our better zones. We just got to do this ourselves. We got to put our tournament in our own hands. And the one thing I said about these guys yesterday was that you're not going to be more consistent than Sky and Scroll. And so how can you beat them?
Můžeš nějak z dálky dát damage, jasný, no, ale musím i víc zóna, aby nemuseli někam utíkat, postaví si, že jo, v obrovskou baseku, jako jsme to viděli včera, a pak hitovat, no. Jenže oni padají ten levej horní růžek a tam většinou ta zóna, je pravda, že včera tam vyšla jednou zóna, ale většinou ta zóna vyjde někam jinam, no. A padá tam okolo nich 2 týmy. A Shark, to je to duo, které tam jako padá nejblíž k ním. Hala, ale včera i taky poslali kolikrát, 2krát, 3krát do lobby.
They've had fortunate zones, so it's like they haven't necessarily proved themselves as well when it comes to further zones. It's just really unfortunate for them that Sky and Scroll just doing so well.
Kolik bude ještě her? Teď sepe na druhou a celkově je 6 her. Včera bylo 6, dneska 6 her. A z toho se to sečte a kdo bude mít nejvíce, tak vyhrává největší prachy. Top 20 postupuje do Německa.
Yeah, everything was looking good. I mean, we saw it in the mid-game, we saw them inside of the storm like I sort of talked about previously. Ultimately, Scroll went down, and usually it is Scroll that's been most successful with these solo clutches, Levin. It was left to Sky, he had no materials, couldn't find his way around, and I think probably this duo would rather have Scroll in that situation, but a decent game nevertheless.
Yeah, I think either one of them, I think is you know, more than capable. I think we saw in you know, in the heats, it was Sky that was solo clutching a bit more than Scroll, right? So I think either one of them is comfortable.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I don't think this is the worst game in the world for them. I think this is actually fine. Yeah, they couldn't find the win condition. Obviously, Sky is forced to solo clutch. It was a difficult zone to do so, especially how Hype were playing it. But I think you'd still be happy with how that game played out, especially as far as, you know, Chino and Pablo are concerned, and Chino going down and maybe not having the best.
Shark je 14, ne? Tady to je když tak. Mám malý buka 7, no.
It was quite unfortunate. It was this rotation here. They were the last ones to go, and so there's people looking backside. Chino just gets sprayed out.
Chtěl by to dobrou hru? Jako jo, včera Huty F1HYX měli dobrou hru až tu třetí nebo čtvrtou, no a pochopitelně nejlepší až ta poslední, jak vyhráli. Ale první dvě hry taky se nedařilo, no. Pak se to zlepšilo. He wasn't quite able to salvage enough points, right, to really make it happen. And so, still a good game from Pablo, able to stay up as long as he did. Chino, unfortunate to go down there. The timing on that rotation was really just what got them.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me of their...
Má landing? Ještě ne. Ještě ne. Ještě jednou teda tabulka, než půjdeme na druhou hru dnešní. Horizonty jsou 13. 208 bodů. Ty měli teď za tuhle hru...
Jo.
Kolikátý vlastně celkově skončili? Shark ty byli 12.
Felix?
Tady nevidím, já jsem slepej. To má skoro... Jsou někde níž? Huty F1HYX ty byli... 44. tuhle hru. Napojilo to všechny. Mají napsaný, ne přece. 13. 13. no, 42 bodů. 4 eliminace.
Coincidence einfach 1500 Mal easier. Retarded.
Zatím ještě není landing.
That's just a fight that they would have won.
Je to dalo po druhé batoh, nechcete někdo batoh? Já ho claimovat nebudu, aby mi to nesebrali. Nebo co se stane, když to claimu po druhý?
It's something we haven't seen from these guys yet this weekend, and you spoke about at the beginning of the day 11. These guys want to make sure they're not going to be the anomaly. They're not going to be the team that fall off after
Mám to claimovat po druhý, nebo radši ne? Aby se nestalo, že už to mám, aby mi to, já nevím, nesebrali. Že už to mám, ty logo. Nebo mi to dalo druhý batoh do lockeru stejnej. A spíš to nedá vůbec nic. Dej mi to, kdyby to bylo na kódy, tak bych to klidně dal do chatu, no. Na kódy to ale není. Na kódy to není, že bych to mohl dropnout do chatu.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot of pressure, right? And so when you're the team that was winning a bunch of fights, and now you go into your first important fight the next day, and it just doesn't quite work.
Huty F1HYX aktuálně 18. jestli se nemýlim. A jo. Po první hře dnešní.
I wonder where their mentality is at in that regard.
And they had a favorable zone as well. It's like another
missed opportunity. Tak už by mohl mít landing, ne? Yes, let's go.
Ja, ich fand so, was zum Fix wir tun? Aber Kalk, also ich dachte so, ich meinte so, was hätten wir da besser machen sollen, bitte, Digga. Das ist einfach so eine...
Naja, Dark Dominion halt, das hätten wir besser machen können, ich glaube sonst.
Ja, aber ich meine...
Oder wir haben ja, das da, ja, aber das danach, Bro, haben wir haben einen Tag habe ich bekommen. 31er. So, deswegen waren wir below. Davor war einfach das Problem so, weißt du?
Ich habe auch Tag bekommen.
Tak pomeče, druhá hra, snad teď to dopadne lépe pro mě. Držme pěsti, jdem na to. Zase letí stejně autobus. Autobus letěl předtím z druhé strany. Oni dropovali rovnou korál, Rezon, teď to letí z druhé strany, tenhle ten bus. Autobus. Ale zase nám určitě Fortnite režie tam hodí hned u tyho F1HYX Sharka za landing, takže to uvidíme. Benzinku, že? Jo. Když to letí odsaď, tak dávají benzinku, když to letí z druhé strany, tak logicky letí korál, no.
Ja. Die sollten eigentlich auf Humble schießen, aber... Ah ne, Humble...
Ich land nicht oben auf der Gas, ich land nicht oben.
Ich slide durch.
Ja.
Já to udělal a dalo mi to animaci, že to mám, ale žádný druhý batoh nemám, jo, takže pouze animaci, že jsi jako dostal drop, ale už to máš, jasný, jo. Ty mají takovou jako jistotku, tady ty hry zatím. Včera všechny ty landingy, myslím, že všechny měli vždycky hned nějaký hráče u sebe.
Oh my god, that's one
ty ostatní, že to stáhli, to vypadá.
What Game 8 has in store.
Let's go. Jdeme na to.
And as you can expect, Takada, that fight over by Wonky
tady to je Huty
still going to be a very open-ended conversation,
taková,
but there has been a lot of shuffling taking place around the map. We're getting a nice little overview, checking in. Swizzy, Pixie, Truly, Gonzo. Nobody would have anticipated this to be so heavily against Swizzy and Pixie, but they're looking to restore honor in their name. Truly, though, going to be able to strike back. It's a one-for-one exchange, elimination ring out. Swizzy has the iron pump, though, just looking to try and chase down Truly, but you have to imagine this is only going to draw another third-party intervention soon enough. Swizzy just trying to track down this final elimination as quickly as possible. He knows the clock is working against him. He knows Hyjo, Keto, they might be hot on the trail here, already trying to take the teleporter off in those tunnels, and Truly, he's got weapons, but that's about it.
Včera se hrálo 6 her, dneska dalších 6.
HP department so much more heavily in Swizzy's favor, trying to see if he can get an overhead view, but neither of these solos has very much material to work with, and that's the biggest reason why it's at such a standstill.
You were alluding to it earlier too. This is just the first part of the battle. Even if either player here comes out on top, there still could be more rotating in through the portals down below. So Swizzy knows that this fight has to be ended quickly, and now's the chance to do it. First shot connects, one more needed, as Truly is put into panic. Swizzy 170 effective HP, and is going to actually not connect that shot, and this fight is just continuing to stagger. You can see in the mini-map bottom right, there's already another team close by.
Truly just going to use that overdrive effect, but Swizzy is ready to collapse, and he finally connects the final shot. Swizzy and Pixie have technically come out on top, but it might be a short-lived victory because Keto, Hyjo, they're already pieced up in those tunnels. So even after getting the reboot off onto Pixie, it's only a matter of time before they have to contend with the duo that's directly underneath them.
Ty vole, teď pušnou toho Tennyho třeba.
Wonky Land, we saw a slow start to the match in
ale už jsou. Jo, ten kempí tady, parchant jeden. Čekač.
Farman kind of shooting back and forth. I don't even know which zone they ended up rotating in, but I mean they do have the wonky wheel. Teeny shot now though. They really want to be able to close this fight off quicker.
Teeny also just trying to bait out this chest. Jo,
double legendárka.
The fact that their opponents very likely just slinking around Wonky Land, waiting for the perfect ambush. But Teeny, gotta be very cautious here because it's still a 2 versus 1 technically speaking. Shark can provide some support, but he's gotta be quick with it. Doesn't want to leave his teammate Teeny out by himself for too long, especially knowing that Twek is lingering too, but Nebs, Nathan, Humble Hills has been very active since
první hru byli 44.
They've actually been eliminated. The surprise contest, not so much a surprise here in day 2 after all, but it's just a matter of fact that another leaderboard team taken out very early on.
They had such a big game too, 11 eliminations, 2nd place. What a devastating finish. We'll see if they can come back from that now. Chino, Pablo.
Kde musí ty dropy? Dropy jsou na Twitchi. Oficiální Fortnite stream, když tak. Batoh. Ale je to batoh z minulého roku, takže jestli minulý rok si sledoval jako FNCS kamážil, tak drop jako není jiný. Je to stejný. Není to nic novýho.
Loses Pixie one more time. The reboot did draw that extra company that was waiting underneath. Hyjo though sent him to not a total panic, but it is a bit awkward.
Stream je na YouTube a na TikToku.
You would have anticipated that they would have been in a much more favorable spot to try and take out both Swizzy and Pixie simultaneously. Instead, Swizzy, he's just playing like this is everything, because it is when you think about it. They have such a daunting day ahead of them, Takada. They need so many points that they want to even try and consider top 20. So these eliminations that Swizzy's able to collect, they're going to need so many more of them, along with some strong placements. I don't want to call it impossible, because we've seen
kde víc odpovídáš? Vidím chaty oba dva vedle sebe, takže čtu to tam, kde jsou jako dotazy, na které dokážu odpovědět, nebo jo. Takže vidím chaty oba na stejno, neboj.
Levin was speaking about it. We said the estimate's 250 to 300 points, 5 end games, but what we mean by an end game, it's a top 5 with 4
Zóna zase vychází doprava. To bude podobná zóna jako minulou hru.
Games today. Well, I mean, we already had game 1, so they've already kind of got to step it up a little bit.
Rolande, koukni na YouTube. Pajus4 Extra na XP mapu.
On the other end. They've already continued with the
Američané jdou taky do Německa, jo, Amerika. Máš to jako na ty regiony, že jo? Evropa, Amerika, Oceánie. Takhle to máš. Německo je lanka. Máme Tomase.
When the Major One Summit LAN does happen in Dusseldorf, that there is a very realistic possibility we're not going to see anyone from our global championship trio.
Na Hutyho se dá napojit přes replay mod.
It is
ale já to radši chci sledovat takhle, protože když Huty má nějaký zajímavý fight s F1HYXem, tak většinou režie to přepíná díky tomu, že jsou vysoko. Takže v průběhu toho aspoň vidíme další hráče. Ale je to taky pochopitelně varianta, no. Konec se v Česku, kámo, v Praze, v O2 aréně.
They found some eliminations on the Huty Fishy in the last match when they rotated through.
Vidíš, teď řekli Huty FISHYX, takže...
They dropped down 2
placements on the leaderboard after game 1.
But they're still in a comfortable position. 5 matches left to close out these major finals.
Zóna je podobná jak minulou hru. Zase pravá strana. Vršek. Tyhle to mají nejhorší, no, ty jsou skoro úplně dole nalevo. Ty to mají přes celou mapu.
Might not have felt as confident being able to bring down Thomas if it's only him sending those shots forward. Adapted, also going to continue, try and wrap around here, meet up with Dexterity, but the opportunity might have just missed them, and now Twek might even be able to get overhead. Look back though into what Sky and Scroll are getting up to. It's not just the surge base, it's eliminations, and that is a very big blow to achieve, by the way. I mean, Sky and Scroll are
možný, že dřív z EU postupovalo 10 týmů a teď 20. Ono to je víc jak 20, protože dneska to je 20, ale oni postoupili, jestli se nemýlím, třeba v sezóně 1. A... Ale každou kapitolu to je trochu jinak, no.
Not only win an FNCS, but also continue forwards.
Oni furt něco měnějí ty price pooly, no. Ale teď nevím z hlavy, jak to bylo minulý rok, kolik postupovalo týmu z Evropy. Ale to byly tria vlastně, že? To byly tria.
Going through some of the replays here with Sky and Scroll, one thing that they definitely love to do is commit to these Storm-sided plays.
F1HYX žijou.
Decent amount of time in Storm, really not getting a move on until 4th or 5th zone.
Tady bychom možná někdy mohli zahlídnout.
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's been working out for them wonderfully, and so they're able to still just keep tabs of their surge. There's no reason for them to try and thwart themselves in the process. Skyjump and Momsy just trying to see
Peter Bot hraje Ameriku, když tak.
The catalyst for their performance here today. But they know they've really got to try and find their rhythm soon enough. Everybody wants to make sure that they are at least within that top 20 on the leaderboard for the Summit LAN qual.
Miniminer brought it up. Saya Scary, their worst match, coming from their best performance in all their time playing Fortnite. I'm just hoping we see a strong mental from them now.
Kdo hrál minulý rok ty tria? No.
Like we saw them yesterday. I mean, the pressure is on them.
You
don't see them drop down. Thomas and Focus though.
Vůbec teď nevím. Ani jména, ani... Nemám teď v hlavě, jak vlastně vypadají. Ten moment z minulý roku. A můžeš to dohledat, nebo to někdo v chatu třeba ví. Ale teď z hlavy to nevím.
Hey, even if the zones aren't in their favor, they've clearly got other intentions for how to get the job done. Nice elimination there.
Dead. Neps, so.
Set them up 5-5-5, moving in
Late se blíží.
Couple of zones.
Teď je otázka, jestli to mají damage, no, na Storm Surge.
Looking much more like a dark horse contender for this weekend, Takada. Especially after finding that Victor Royale in the last match. They've definitely set themselves into a pretty solid position here for the leaderboard overall. Now it's just about making sure that they continue to build.
Že ty dua v Chapter 5 na sledování byly i tak jako lepší než ty tria. Ale nebylo to taky špatný, neříkám, že to bylo špatný, ale přijde mi, že ty dua jsou možná jako lepší, no.
Too excited for Game 7. Realize, okay, well, maybe
když to srovnám Chapter 5, Chapter 6.
Maybe the off-spawn surprise con isn't exactly
uvidíme, jak tenhle rok.
So I like that they're just opting to fall back a little bit here.
Huty4 by měli žít.
It's gonna be a dead side zone approach.
Tady je máme. Teda skoro.
We are still in Wonky Land.
Oni šli do zóny už. Tady je Shark duo a pak to druhé duo, no. Které padá okolo nich. Okolo f1HYX a Hutyho.
As I think they're gonna decide to finally make their rotate come through. I was mentioning in the last game, Wonky is one of the POIs where you do have
a zóna teda vpravo. Jako minulou hru, no.
In terms of rotating out with that Wonky wheel, but I'm looking to see a big game from Shark and Teeny. I mean, you talked about Wonky Land being a
tamhle není nalevo Huty4, ty už budou asi poblíž zóny.
It seems like their focus right now is just kind of cementing themselves a good spot on the leaderboard before they start playing like we've seen them play throughout the season.
Shark and Teeny actually cutting a crossover to Frozen Shard. Skyjump Mumsy still by, but
Buga FNCS nehraje, protože dostal diskval a byla to chyba. Ale i tak bohužel hrát nemůže už. Epic Fortnite udělali chybu, no. To včera tweetli. 4 miliony zhlédnutí, to má ten tweet. Což je dost na Fortnite competitive jako takhle tweet, no. Huty4 žije. Dobré, zóna nám tentokrát půjde trošku... No, je ta zónička podobná jako minulou hru. Teď tam ale půjde doleva dolů. Tady je jabko. f1HYX Hutyho zatím nevidíme. Z tohohle postupuje 20 týmů. Z 50.
So far, they don't want to do anything too risky, just trying to kind of stay ahead of the zone here, let it pull towards them. In terms of damage, looks like they're sitting quite comfortably. I do see Kamihari close by. A lot of them kicking off yesterday, but today, seen nothing so far.
So there's a lot of action taking place underneath. Thomas and Focus. Faded and Khan.
Tamhle napravo Huty4 je to za webkou.
Kind of sandwich between where Thomas Focus are at
and
Kamihari. One of those big duos is bound to get involved soon enough here. Shark, Teeny. Anyone above right now.
Kolik to je? 12 týmů a budou placementový body.
2 for the pairing. So they were able to find something after they left Frozen Shard. Just wonder who it was that they actually managed to
nahitujte, dejte jim. Mohli by jim dát nějaký hity, pojď. To je stále u sebe.
Do have a chance to look back now, and it's Mumsy and Skyjump after all. The intentions behind that Frozen Shard play was likely just to cut off the Frenchies, and that is a tough blow for Skyjump and Mumsy.
Yeah. On the contrary, though,
furt u sebe, no.
Shark and Teeny getting more and more set up for this late.
Tak, 10 týmů do placementu, zóna pokračuje doleva. Takže ta zóna je dost podobná jako minulou hru. Bude končit na podobném místě ta zóna.
They've been continuing the momentum from yesterday. They had a rough start to day 1. They ended with a big match, and now
teď už ta Storma, no. Tak doufujeme, že mají nějakou damage. Že dneska půjdou na Storm Search.
f1HYX and Azat in the early game, so showing the dominance from previous drops they've kind of had throughout this tournament.
Also just making it very clear that if they've marked somewhere, they likely have intentions to visit it eventually. And for Azat and f1HYX, while they defended it one time, Fourfields is going to continue to be, I think, a pretty big point of contention for the remainder of our matches here today. The lobby starting to close in. Teams.
Tady.
Some kind of scattered around the outskirts of the zone, all different directions, but you can see those surges lighting up. Handful of different teams here now.
Malibuka
and Vico. While we didn't necessarily get to see too many overviews from their performances yesterday, one thing's for sure, Vico was definitely getting very active with dealing damage.
Whoa.
But Thomas, he's just sent
Mělo by to
wiggling
být,
around
jestli se
inside his
nemýlím,
own
50
box,
hráčů, aby se vypla Storm
so
Surge.
incredibly low. Part of the
Teď
problem
je
too,
63
when we
naživu.
last saw them kind of tanking up those ticks of storm, they didn't have much white heals. They really only had splashes and a single
mají
chug jug,
nad
so now
sebou.
they've really got to depend
F1HYX
on finding
Huty.
a refresh here, but Focus very low on his shields. Thomas maybe going to be able to
dále
take over
doleva.
the leading charge there for aggression.
Což je lepší, kdyby to šlo doprava, protože doleva to mají blíž u ty F1HYX.
Prevent any other teams from kind of
6 týmů
encroaching
a
on their
budou placement
position.
body.
They know there's at least 1 or 2 duos hurting nearby, but not enough for them to get a move on just yet.
Yeah, they also pulled quite literally the
Teď jsem je teda
furthest zone
ztratil.
they could here. Sharkantini on the contrary, the perfect pull. They're capitalizing on it. Swizzy, Pixie as well. They actually got 48 points in the last match. We said they need 50 points a game if they want to make it to Dusseldorf. Seeing them in the end game, both with HP, I've got faith.
This might be best case scenario too for Malibuka and Vico. All those duos that just sent themselves scattering forward. Yapko, Panzer in a heavy
Jen umírejte na tu Storm Surge, to my potřebujeme.
Panzer just trying to outlast it with this chug jug. Focus, the only one left standing right now between himself and Thomas. As a solo, he's at least got the mythic pump to work with. His
Naši borci stále žijou. F1HYX má eliminaci, zabil teammatea od Rezona. Let's go. No Rayleighho. 4 body. A už máme i placement body, takže teď vydržet co nejdéle. Pojďme. Malibuka má dead teammatea, to je dobrá zpráva. Pojďme, dobrá hra, teď to vyjde. Přes 200 bodů. Minimálně. Zona se trochu vrací doprava dolů.
Focus, Mali, saved by the players in the lobby, eliminating
Rezone
themselves
dead.
essentially. Surge won't work against them, but they are still in a
Což je dobrá zpráva, že jo, ty byli 14.
Fighting for their placements
Malibuka taky dead.
to defend, but it's Malibuka taken out by Focus.
To vypadá dobře, borci.
That is still the worst case scenario here now though for Mali. So he has to wait, see what happens next.
Wow. What a way to go down for Thomas HD2. This just shows that even the best
Shark drží high,
are struggling with this net surge, forcing themselves in situations where they have to take those risks. Sayas now is actually left alone despite that elimination.
What the fuck?
Both Huty, Fishy and
Tady někdo dominuje.
are second height and
Bro, cinema. What the fuck? Let's go. Oni si proto jdou. Jen jim dej tomu Sharkovi.
Huty, Fishy, neither of them really seemed all that set in terms of material. Huty, Fishy, they might have the high ground for the time being, but with the way that the zone is pulling over elevation shifts, there might have to player transition eventually. They're gonna need to drop here. Sayas
jako když dají win, tak by top 2 už mohli mít.
Shark, big blow against Sky there. Gonna keep him incredibly low. Oj,
bacha. Tak jsme to zakřikli, no. Jsme to zakřikli. Shark šmejt, ty vole.
This is what we've been waiting for. Sharkini, they couldn't close out the fight in Walkie-Land, but now in the late game, not only have the overthrown height, it's against the team that's contesting them. They do not want to give them a shot at the major one LAN. Gino trying to do what he can to clutch up.
Teď jim oplatili včerejšek ten landing, no, tak to bylo taky v té lokaci. Fight ve vzduchu, no, bez stavění. Škoda, no. Že je překvapili takhle.
performance. They did a great job at just controlling the low ground. Anybody that was trying to layer swap last second always had to deal with them, and Chino left by himself. Pablo left behind. Chino trying to do what he can to connect some additional tags here. Siphon would go a long way for him. He's going to send himself straight towards the front side, low. Swizzy also trying to see if he can make it happen. He's been clawing his way through this match since the beginning, Takada. The fact that he's still standing as a solo is impressive enough as is. But Chino, very similar position, utilizing the building space now. On the other side of the wall, Pears gets the first shot. They were both waiting to connect and scroll. Sky, this is their best opportunity now to continue trying to extend their lead, but Sky gets put down. Repairs waiting in the wings. They are so ready to overtake these teams on the leaderboard, but you gotta make sure that you're looking every direction here because teams sneaking up just behind, and it's Shark, it's Teeny. We lost sight of them on the high ground, but they didn't lose sight of the play.
Jako reálně, kdyby Sharka, jeho teammate tam neskočil, tak ty vole, možná by to fakt vyhráli, no. Škoda, ty vole. Škoda, tak snad jim to teď oplatí na landingu, no. Snad jim to oplatí na landingu. Pojďme se podívat na tabulku. To nás určitě teď zajímá. Skyscroll teda stále první, ty si teď trošku zase ten náskok zvýšili. Mají náskok na druhé místo 82 bodů, jestli dobře počítám, snad jo. Focus Thomas třetí, Pablo teda druzí. Kam pak Shark vyskočil díky tomu winu? Shark, šestý, no. 301 bodů, takže Shark jakoby tým by už měli mít postup s 301 body. Teď si vemte, kdyby to Huty, F1HYX takhle vyhráli, tak už mají taky, si myslím, postup. Škoda, no. Nebs 8. Malibuka 9. místo. Tyjo, nestačilo to, no. Huty, F1HYX 19. O jedno místo se propadli. Na 20. místo mají náskok teda bod. A pak 21. místo je 166, takže mají přibližně, no přesně teda 21 bodů náskok na postup do Německa. Škoda, tyjo. Kdyby je opravdu nepřekvapili, mohli být někde mezi top 10. Tak snad teď, no. Svizy 25. Moneymaker se docela propad. 31. pozice. Tak jsou potom další místa. 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 5, 1, 2, 5, poslední. A jak je na tom ten vlastně? Rezon 15. Ty se taky trošku propadly. 212 bodů, no. 250 by přibližně mělo být na postup. Takže je možný, že ta první 10 přibližně má postup, ale ještě se to může hodně změnit. No. Ještě to není jistý, 250 bodů. Bude to 250 až 300. Na postup do Německa, top 20.
Team he is, right? The best controller player in the world for a reason. I know Re over on the name might be feeling a way about me saying that, but you have two incredibly talented players who ultimately we've just not seen the best of them over the first sort of 6
Tak, dojděte na záchod, na jídlo, než nám začne třetí hra.
Even in situations where the Osborne at Wonky is still a bit messy and we're still stuck in stagnating fighting there, we can have end games like that to make up for it.
But they're currently 6th on the leaderboard. They are 219 points behind our leaders, Sky and Scroll. We'll get to see if they can make even more gains in our next game after the break.
Jak dlouho bude ta cca další hra trvat? Jo, za jak dlouho začne? 2,5 minuty, 5 minut, 5-10 minut. 5-10 minut to bude. To vlastně my už jdeme na třetí hru, že? Tyhle to utíkám, že jdeme teprve na druhou. Teď už bude vlastně třetí, tak já to přepíšu. tu tabulku mám zapnout dvakrát? Tohle vypnem. Pardon. Budu ještě zaplay starý timer. Co to ukazujou? Epic Game Store. Ha? Epic Game Store promuje klipy streamerů? Community Showcase, okay. What the fuck?
100. I got here. I'm popping a med bit. Wait, short. Got 6 builds. No, max up. Wait, if you're med, wait. 100. 100. Oh my god.
Huh. Vy můžete poslat vaše klipy, aby se takhle potom ukázali na streamu, jo? Okay.
Not like this. These players are just so locked in.
Could it be the milk?
Co to je za reklamu? To je reklama na mlíko.
Stay there.
Ksede, dík za flow. My jsme nikdy neměli, že jako mlíko heal item ve Fortniteu. Kdyby udělali třeba spolupráci s Orem, Oreo a mlíko, nějaký heal item. No neměli jsme žádný healovací item styl mlíko, ty vole. To mohli dát v té chapter 7 season 2. Tam to vlastně promovali tím mlékem. Novou season, to si ještě pamatuju. Chapter 2. Let's go, třetí hra za 5 minut. Máte taky lagy? Chat, v pohodě stream nebo nějaký lagy?
No, and they again continue to showcase the issue that anyone else in this lobby is gonna have when trying to catch up with them mini. How do you stop a team that is just gonna keep getting these top fives, keep getting deep into these end games, and in many cases now as well are gonna be out fragging you in these end games as well, right? This game was a second place 8 elim game where you know what do you do to catch up? I mean, it is so difficult. They just really have a lock on the low ground. Nobody seems to be able to play it better than them right now in EU, and I don't see that changing in the next 4 games.
It's really nice to see them playing the low ground so well as well. It's nice to see a team have an identity. I feel like it's not something that we've associated with teams necessarily previously as much, or at least not as obviously as we can see right here.
Huty? Ne, čeká v lobby.
Right, I mean, it's so difficult to catch up to them because they're just covering all bases so well. They're finding eliminations whilst being super consistent. And for teams that are trying to catch them up, Chino and Pablo, Focus and Thomas HD, what do you actually do? Of course, weren't able to win this game, but again, another unfavorable zone. Maybe our hair will be grey by the time we get a west zone this weekend, but it's just going to be unstoppable for them. And they've nearly sort of brought back that sort of 90-point gap as well. What is that? Is that like 80 points?
Kolik je her? Teď se půjde na třetí a potom ještě 3. Dneska 6 celkově.
I believe I've done the maths right. So it is a stunning performance from these guys. And the thing is, sometimes with Joris, we'd be questioning, we'd be going, well, are they able to maintain
že bych tam taky mohl poslat svůj klip s mým aimem, jo, no. To tak.
But it's not guaranteed for Pablo and Chino that they are going to be able to maintain the distance.
To by podle mě ani nevybrali radši. Tak, třetí hra. Chtělo by to, no, je to škoda. Ta první hra je škoda, že tam neurvali bod, teď to bylo lepší. Škoda, že jim skočili na hlavu. Mají ještě velkou šanci, jsou 19. Mají náskok teď nějakých těch 21 bodů, takže stále šance je. Uvidíme, jak to dopadne. 19. v tabulce teď, 19.
Auf jeden Fall. Einer ist auf 100.
To what these guys are able to
za 2 minuty landing.
And Sure4 and Repairs, it almost looked like they were going to reproduce a victory royale, Nevin. I'm so impressed by the way that these guys are stepping things up on day 2.
Absolutely. Again, the theme of this season has been what? It's been these newer names, these newer talents, people who you maybe weren't expecting to pop off and showcase what they can do. And I think these guys exemplify that excellently, right? This moment here between Chino and Repairs, it was like, who's going to get the jump? You usually expect the person with the right-hand peak there to win, but Repairs, again, showcasing just why they have been so formidable across these 2 days so far. I'm very excited. Again, I'm very excited to see, you know, sort of what the limit is for these guys. At the end of the day, we're going to expect to see these guys at this point now make it to the Summit LAN. Will they be able to replicate this performance and surprise some of the best players in other regions over the course of those games?
Well, listen, it's time for Legends Watch because Swizzy and Pixie, they made it to a couple of endgames now back-to-back. The question is, were they good enough endgames to move them substantially up the leaderboard? They've not made it into the top 20 yet, but on page 3, you can see them there up a whopping 14 places, 25. Now, Düsseldorf is looking like a reality, Levin.
Yes, and this is the thing. When you have elite players, and that's what these guys are, regardless of what we saw yesterday, when you have elite players, you can't count them out. I love the approach they've taken to today's off spawns mini, where yesterday they lost a couple of spawns, you know, at Dark Dominion, and so they decided, okay, we're going to just try and split it, and then that's where they ran into more problems. Today, they've just been taking the fight off spawn. They're just like, no, we're going to fight you guys. We will fight you, no problems us. They've been winning the fights. Even in that last game, right? They ended up with what? A really good game where the start of the game was actually rough because they have to reboot Pixie. Then when Pixie gets rebooted, other teams come in, third party them. Pixie goes down again. He gets rebooted again, and they're still able to have a good game. And so that shows you that they've come in.
Ještě ne. Za chvilku bude landing. Let's go. Třetí hra ze 6. Jdeme na to.
Oder niemals mache ich den.
Nee, machst du auch nicht.
Když dají dobro, kolik že mají bodů ještě, než teda skočíme? 187, no. 187, když dají win, mají přes 200 pade a to už je hratelný, aby ta top 20 byla, no. Tak snad.
Kann auch sein, dass du nicht durchfliegst, kommt da davon. Aber eigentlich kannst du schon. Pass mal auf.
Kde jsou ty jinxky, tyjo, ze včerejška? Ty to úplně někam změnili, no, ten drop. Aby by to byli oni tamhle?
Ja, ich geh auch hinter meinem Bombe. Mach den Slapjack, nehmen einfach, quick.
Fox jde 3, jo?
Ja, ich weiß. Ich lauf an, das Außenseite-Richtung.
Já jsem většinou na YouTube, nebo mám většinou na YouTube naštěstí 2, ne 3, to je extrém, jestli jsou už 3. Včera mi na Twitchi naskočila, nebo já jsem mi teda nepustil, ale 2,5 minutová reklama na Twitchi. Na oficiálním Fortnite streamu. 2,5 minutová. To jsem radši vypl. Nebo resetoval. Pak už se nenačetla. Ani nevím, jak to s reklamama u nás na Twitchi. Na Kiku nejsou, to je jasný, že jo? Asi záleží taky u jakýho streamera. Tak co, máme landing?
Well, we haven't seen that immediate 50-50 off spawn so far here today.
Hned landing nám ukážou, let's go.
Royale in game number 8. It would not surprise me in the slightest to see them maybe offer a little bit more aggression earlier on, but
Kde
for right now,
Shark je víc nahoře, jo, okay.
For Teeny. He's actually opted to take control of this like little castle area just north of the POI, and Shark also a little bit deeper north. Maybe their concern is we saw Twek kind of poking his head on over from Wonky from Toy Box Talk, so that could be a big part of the reason why. But Swizzy, one elimination already. And we get a chance to revisit what went wrong here for Truly. Just a really proactive Elim there out of Swizzy, and like the desk already touched on, they just decided, you know what, it's our turn to actually just start throwing punches. And I feel like for Truly and Gonzo, they're just like, wait, hold up, timeout. When did you guys start punching back?
Yeah, it's already 4 teams though at Dark Dominion, so we'll see how it continues as Nebs and Nathan had a very big game to kick off the day, but then fell short in the next match, 47th place, and now we're here.
Nejlepší bylo, kdyby vyfightili landing, měli 2 eliminace, Storm Surge damage, to by byla ideálka, no. Máme tady fight, tak pojďme. Pojď Huty F1HYX. Ty vedou agresivně do nich, no.
But right now, Huty and Fishy do have a little bit better control over the vending machines, but for how long can they actually keep Shark and Teeny out? Huty, we're gonna see if he can break some of their walls from a different angle. Fishy does get a nice shot onto Shark. That's gonna drop him incredibly low. Shark
to je šmejt, dobrou dostal.
Fortunately, they do have splashes to work with. Teeny also, I believe he just split some of his mats there. So Huty, Fishy.
No, vidět, že jsou nervózní ten a Shark, no.
They might be able to use here to put themselves into a winning position. But Shark Teeny, you can tell just how hungry they are
teď trošku jaký schytal.
They want to wipe out Huty and Fishy, and they might be able to do it. Huty, though, doing a great job pulling back Fishy, actually forcing Shark to wait despite taking a big chunk out of Huty's HP. He's not going to be able to close in fully just because of the back of
I
might have spoken too soon. Teeny with a different angle. He brings down Huty, who's already so incredibly low. Now it's all about collapsing onto Fishy, but Fishy making sure it's not easy. It doesn't matter though. Jaws theme song in real life here. Shark and Teeny kicking Huty and Fishy back to the battle bus. They were already in 19th place heading into this leaderboard, and that's bound to drop even further outside of that land qual.
Tak teď top 20 asi už nebudou, no.
You could tell it was looking little iffy.
Ještě 3 hry budou.
Škoda. Of them being outside of qualifying range to Dusseldorf, they quickly pushed themselves up into top 15, and now after that win, they are back in business. This is the Shark and Teeny we were expecting in the major finals after an underperformance in day 1. Now they're back in action.
Teď zemřeli. Na žraloka. Na žraloka duo zemřeli, no.
Applying pressure. Pablo and Chino now. They are still in 2nd place. They've gotten top 10 in every match today. But
proč nám furt padají? Tak je to jejich lokace, kam padají.
Of course, hungry for yet another.
Já bych jako být, mně přijde, že hraju dobře, abych ten landing neměnil, prostě teď jim to bohužel nevyšlo. Včera to bylo taky, ty první 3 prostě hry jim nevyšly a ty poslední 3 vyšly. A teď poslední 3 další hry měnit to podle mě není dobrá varianta. Mají ještě šanci se do Německa, ještě 3 hry budou, ještě 3 hry.
Catch wind of what's actually taking place and do their own sort of ambush maneuvers, and that's exactly the kind of thing that I think even the most experienced teams would still struggle with here today.
Scary place.
Teď dají 3x top 2? Kežby, to bylo nice.
Swizzy and Pixie.
Ona stačí jedna hra, ale ona stačí, aby jednu hru dali top 2, top 1 a rázem ten postup už by tam měl být, no ale teď zemřeli. 50 až 100 bodů, no, potřebujou. Jedna dobrá hra.
Now here in the 9th match, I believe it was a mix of kind of a rotate where Thomas got caught off guard by Syaz, and then also just being a little low on Surge. It's just so difficult when even the most experienced players in the lobby cannot handle this net Surge.
Big contributing factor to that is just knowing every single duo out here is trying to reevaluate, figure out what sort of strategy do we need to do to put ourselves in the best position to be above that Surge metric. Vico Malabuka.
Takže uvidíme, kdo tuhle hru vyhraje a pak bude další. Čtvrtá dnešní.
Glimpses of greatness from this duo. For the most part, it has been relatively quiet. They've done a decent job at least remaining inside of that top 10 portion of the leaderboard, but it's just one of those instances where you're kind of just waiting for like the what next factor. You're waiting to see the big pop off really from that team.
Moneymaker. Opička na Pepsince. Kolikátý jsou? Byli 19. No, teď se asi propadnou. Uvidíme po hře. Jako já se můžu pojat teoreticky teď, ale víš co, tam ještě nebudou úplně všichni. No, 19. Uvidíme až po té hře. Jak se to posune.
Khan. Not sure if the intention was to go for an ambush here against iDrop and Medius, but
Danixo za 16 měsíců. Ale už budu na fonku, když tak si tě přidám.
This entire series so far. And after the day one performance didn't exactly go how they would have pictured it.
Kamo to rybaří na blátě, ne?
I'm almost much more
dobrý,
inclined
no.
to believe that there's going to
To mě
be
zajímalo, kde vzali tolik rybek z takového malého toku.
Try and throw themselves into Latte's potential area to contest. Deemish Darm though doing more of the same of what they've been after. Started the first couple of lobbies here today, checking out the eastern section of the map, and now they're back out
Krásný den.
Dáš si mne do Fortnite nick VFL lobby pinďo psí.
Má to zpoždění ty alerty.
Without a set drop, they're really just, I wouldn't call them scavengers because I do think that they do a pretty solid job at cleaning up the teams that they fight and extending their own positions for rotations and whatnot in a game. But it is scary when you have a team that's just vaguely rolling around the map and you're not really sure where they're going to be next.
I'm kind of wondering why they switched though. They got 5th place, 8 elims in the last match, 6 elims 15th. In the match before that,
má ještě šanci, má ještě 3 hry, polovina ještě her dneska. Včera taky dali comeback díky tomu winu. Takže ona stačí ta jedna hra dobrá, no.
It didn't go terribly wrong either. Kamihari, very rough start the day. Currently in 18th place, they went down 29th, 25th. Not the matches that you would have liked to see from this duo. We saw them have some pretty big ones yesterday, so hopefully they can make a change here.
No Aurelian Reason, another one of our duos though. All day yesterday, they were having to deal with a pretty set 50-50 all-spawn fight. But the scenes have shifted a bit for this duo here today. It's one thing though to make it to the end game, it's another to convert that end game into a performance that would
Huty,
net you
on jim to Huty vrátí s F1HYXem. Oni jim to vrátí.
Tilio and Shaco's though, I don't think they know what's coming next. This is starting to get real spooky. Darm and Deemish, very content right now over by Tree Chop Timbermill. They're healing up. Got the vending machines. Afford to spend a little bit more time here, but Shaco's and Tilio will catch wind of this duo the moment that they mosey on out of the buildings here. And it's not just one, but potentially even another duo. Thought another team might have had
Čarodějnou karmu, to přijde. Máme ještě 3 hry. Když máme 3 hry, to přijde.
They want to keep moving forward.
Sky Scroll almost 100 points ahead.
Dobré healy.
Less against Chino Pablo. They're just continuing to kind of slowly increase that gap as the matches go on, and the issue is I don't really see them slowing down. It's almost the opposite. They kicked it off with a 7th 4 elims and then a second 8 elims. They're just doing better and better. We'll see if that continues as Kamihari now have picked up a couple eliminations. Things are starting to look brighter for this duo today.
But they still got a long ways to go here, Takata. The big thing to keep in mind is that a lot of our teams that are in that top portion of the leaderboard, what they've been doing is having at least 1 or 2 games, netting high eliminations, netting strong placement.
Já jim to ukážu, no to by dopadlo. Já jim tak můžu ukázat, jak nosit healy shieldy do zóny. To jo. To bych dokázal.
Top 5 territory. They're gonna need to start pulling in 6-7 eliminations per game, strong placement finishes. And it's always easier said than done, but for Pablo and Chino, this is... they are eating good right now at Sandy Strip.
Yeah, they are having a great
time. No. To je
teď tady tu hru. What do we do with all this?
Jaká hra třetí, poloviční, nebo polovina z dneška.
Thomas focus. It was a rough late game rotate. I'm glad to see the amount of damage they've got so far, though. Scavenging through Battlewood Boulevard. And again, kind of in the south side of the zone.
It's crazy that there's still some goodies left over. Even though Sky and Scroll, you know, that's their initial starting point, but makes sense. One duo can only carry so much. Thomas and Focus, they're really just trying to be wary. I'm certain that they're fully aware of that hill that Sky and Scroll like to take claims over, surge base on. And it's going to be difficult to avoid their line of sight, but where there's a will, there's a way. Vika Malabuka, ready to get going. I'll try and avoid any congestion.
Teď jsou 19. a celkově musí být 20. aby postoupili. Po té hře se ale propadnou, no. O pár pozic to vypadá.
Yeah, this was the main duo I was talking about when I said, you know, EU Titans actually struggling with net surge. It was Malabuka Vico in the last match, and when you're 460 above, you do not want to risk getting.
To mě zajímá, jestli Moneymaker streamuje, jestli hraje na ovladači anebo na klávesnici, protože on to v té Chapter 5, když jsme na něj koukali, tak to často měnil. Jednu hru hrál na klávesnici, druhou hru hrál na ovladači.
I guess the performance that they had yesterday, expectations are a little mixed. 24 points so far. Let's see if they can get a big one.
Well, first we got to see what Zany and Burke decide to do. They've been waiting things out. Thought for a moment that they were going to choose to pop out. The Scary and Zaz rolled on by, but not the intentions, not just yet. Jen isn't cheating. Decent spot on the edge of zone. They're just trying to scope out, see if there's any teams. Been edited open a little bit too long, maybe that they can take advantage of, but at least for right now, they're gonna avoid most of the lobby focus.
Shark Team 281 above. We saw them get the 2 eliminations off spawn on Huty Fishy. And they have a very good amount of mats actually. If they can pull some zones here, this could be another very big match for them. If anyone's capable of a back-to-back win, it's gonna be.
Teď by skončili toho 20. To by stačilo na postup. Ale uvidíme, no, musíme držet pěstí.
So much to rest right now. Pixie, Swizzy, just going to take advantage of the circumstance. Big eliminations here for these two. Another one of our duos that they need every single point they can get. 25th. And we never said it was impossible for them to come back, but they are playing with new life right now here today, Takada.
Yeah.
In this 9th lobby, this is where a lot of that willpower is truly going to be tested. Because they can convert this into a great endgame finish.
Jsem ukážu hru na Land, no, snad teď ta další hra bude lepší. Nejlépe vypnout Sharka, no. A tam to dobře trefil, nevím, jestli to byl F1HYX nebo Huty. Za 153, že jo, s tou shotgunou. Tam jako to mohlo dopadnout, že by ho vypl. A bylo by to úplně jiný, no. A měli by hned 8 bodů a damage na Storm Search, no. To je škoda, 153, no.
Out of 3 representatives from that global championship team.
From 47th place to 25th today, the issue is, despite these consistent performances, the job's not done. They need to continue having these matches every single game, but be careful, Teeny's actually been knocked if you look at the bottom left. What has gone wrong? Hopefully Shark here is able to pick him up, but it doesn't seem like anybody is actually pushing them.
Look, don't get me wrong, Shark and Teeny, they might have had a lot of materials, they might have had a decent amount of heals there, Takada, but their positioning was a little bit scuffed.
To byl náš rybák. Šmejd žralogo sežral tady je, vole. Jako co chce, další win? Nestačí mu jeden, 300 bodů? Asi ne, co? A vlastně, no, vlastně čím oni lépe skončí, tak mají víc peněz. To je pravda. Tak to Hutyho F1HYX se nenechají.
So even contenders like Shark and Teeny, you've gotta be wary that where they actually want to duke things out. Tom is focused, 210
Zóna dále doleva dolů.
Probably one of the most favorable zones that they're going to get. And now Tom is so confident in Boop Chat yesterday after the fact. Levin already highlighted it. Just give me zones and I will show you a champion performance. We'll wait to see just how he intends on delivering. Might have to deal with iDrop and Medius nearby,
Huty F1HYX dead. Bohužel.
Thomas, focus. Patient. Scheming, that's for sure.
To be fair, this is one of the better kind of surge they've had. I'm hoping that
Ty krása,
didn't go too wrong, but Shark
223 je buff. Je už H530.
So good at getting refreshes when they need it most, but it was even a refresh onto Syaz and Scary. Our now 5th place team. They are not having a fun day, but on the contrary, Shark and Teeny, they're now back in business.
Yeah, that Spanish flame, unfortunately, seems like it's sort of sizzling out right now as Scroll, Sky, 343 above, taking shots back. The rest of the lobby sort of funneling in towards their direction. Won't be able to get the pre-dead just then onto Dinas and Fernek. Escape by directly underneath them, but when you are this set on Surge, you can still take your time, pick your moments when you want to strike next. Thomas focus. Might be in a little bit of a stir here right now. Shakos nearby. They're gonna drop their pizza box. Tom's gonna carry some of those slices, but Focus definitely wanted to heal up a bit. Flowberry Mist Grenade too, and you have to remember, anytime these Flowberry and Mist Clouds are seen, teams on height, bound to start looking, trying applying pressure into those areas. Minori, he's not careful, he might get sandwiched in between Shark, Teeny, Focus, Thomas, but so many teams collecting their own fair share of eliminations here, and Pablo making it look too easy. WhereX, no idea what happened next there. The pre-edit just too powerful.
A to ještě vlastně tu minulou hru měli dobře rozehranou, že měli ten high, no. Kdyby tam žralok nevlítl potom nahoru. Když jsou above, tak to znamená, že mají damage a nepotřebují jakoby damage na Storm Surge. Když jsou below, potřebují damage, jinak jim zóna dává damage. Aby hráli agresivně.
And with Sky Scroll applying that kind of pressure too, it puts out the warning signs for everybody else in the lobby. They start closing off their walls, they start boxing up, so that makes it feasible for them to just rotate so freely off that overdrive grenade. But look at the high ground. Swizzy, Pixie, they've actually managed to escalate themselves up. Cheat and Giannis, when it looked like it might be theirs for a moment, now they'll be forced to just sit in that secondary height position instead. But how much pressure can Swizzy and Pixie truly apply here? They've got their work cut out for them. Teeny, though, he's taking a tumble. Shark left as a solo here. Front side of zone at the very least, but still so much to deal with. So many other teams looking to try and cut him off along the way.
Repairs also got cracked now. Sure, trying to figure out which way he even wants to go. They are not grouped up here, but a refresh is going to come through. Focus, though, has to be on getting to zone. Thomas HD and Focus. Good synergy here. Both players looking healthy. Issue is running low on mats. They will need to pick up some eliminations shortly. Sky Scroll, though, still have good mats. But you got to be careful, Scroll, as he gets cracked. Is going to be able to group up, though. Pizza put down.
Tomas dead.
Should be able to heal.
But that forced halt.
Bohužel dead na začátku na... Ne na landing, ale v té lokaci. MAPA za follow. Ještě budou ale 3 hry.
And now it's looking like this lobby might be working against them. But Shark knock onto Pablo. Chino.
Jenom pošli do lobby, Pablo.
To see if he can turn this one around, but
Vypni
no,
toho
have to
žraloka.
abandon Pablo. Not going to be able to actually opt for that revive. Shark knows it's only a matter of time before the siphon comes into play for him.
Dej mu lobby, 20 HP.
But you can tell already the storm sickness is a problem here right now. For Shark, he can't afford to tank up any more ticks.
Parkan žralok ještě žije.
He's gonna have to hope that Volko doesn't realize on the other side of
Už
the wall
se ho
he still
zbavte.
has no materials left to work with. Gino with another
Sejvka je zadarmo.
elimination though. 8 builds.
Shark je mrtvej, Parkan. Tak teď ho vypne Huty F1HYX,
This is looking like a tough one to close out.
A lot of solos. Pablo was forced to clutch it out. In the last match now, it's all up to Gino. He's got 3 on the board, but it looks like he's gonna have to rotate up a hill, has to break through build. It's getting a little messy. Down below, will he be able to find a way out and even find elimination alongside it? Sky, we've seen your solo clutch potential. You now have another shot to do it.
Just lurking around, he is going to find a big shot that's going to connect all of those goodies in ultimate low here. It's familiar territory, but look at Swizzy and Pixie. We knew they needed to have a monumental day here, and they are making sure to do everything in their power to find it. Malibuka, Vico, also another team looking to try and see if they can pick off Sky. Pressure from above, pressure from below, and Sky Scroll, they are out of this one, but Chino still trekking through, still breaking all of these pre-existing builds. Front side for now, hoping that he can stay concealed away from the team on height, but you never know. The moment that he drops, ultimate low, currently controlled, Vico and Malibuka are the ones looking to try and cut some players off here. Vico with that mythic chaos too. Swizzy, Pixie, they're just trying to keep their distance for the time being. But Volko, Cringe, they're gonna head straight into where Vico Mali just dropped into, but Vico gets the better end of the exchange. Both Cringe so incredibly low, they're not gonna be able to withstand the pressure here. Mali and Vico with just another extension of builds and materials to work with.
This is the first match today that Vico and Malibuka have gotten into top 10, and they are not disappointing. Chino with a big shot connecting as well. 12 HP is all that's left. He's going to be forced to drop down. Issue is, the team up above, they're going to capitalize on that.
Swizzy solidní high.
Just up to Swizzy. Pixie is out of shield. He's out of HP, but we've got our global champion. Show us what it takes.
Okay, ten to out-healnout, jo.
Malibuka. Are you going to be able to out-heal it?
No to vypadá, že mu to vyjde.
That's where Swizzy was headed. He wants to make it to the bending, the patch-ups, the pizza.
Tak to je GG, no.
Perfect recipe for success here
Dobrý
right
out-heal.
now. Vico is hunting. Malibuka is hoping that they find it, but it's no
Dobrý win na automat.
Swizzy and Pixie, they have really seemed to have found a lot
No,
of...
tak se pojďme podívat. Byli 19. Ať jsou 22. aspoň, prosím. Jdeme na to. Takže Sky Scroll 576 bodů. Počkat, 9 her? Jo, vychází to. První, Pablo druzí, Finové třetí, Sur, Rippers, Focus Thomas čtvrtý, Malibuka pátý, Shark šestý, Cringe devátý, Janis desátý, Nepso 11. Druhý Cringe 12. Skyjump 14. Jabko 15. Swizzy 16. Flixy 17. Huty F1HYX 21. Ale ztrácí 19 bodů na top 20, na ten postup. Což 19 bodů měli náskok, no. Měli náskok, že jo, před tady tou hrou 20 něco, no. Takže 21. Chce to dobrou hru. Chce to dobrou hru, teď je blbý to, že když zemřou na landing, tak je velká pravděpodobnost, že tady ty 4 týmy půjdou předně, no, a budou rázem 25. a pak už to bude těžší dohnat, no, takže teď to nesmí se pokazit, no, tady ta hra. Snad to dopadne dobře, Moneymaker 33, Jarko, Akira, tady nás už to jako nezajímá, ten spodek. Tyhle už jsou jako skoro mimo, no. Takže 20 bodů aktuálně, nebo 20. místo aktuálně 206 bodů, zbývají 3 hry. 3 hry. 200 pade, no. Někde tady už by to mohlo být na postup, no. Tak snad, doufejme. Jo. A Rablíko, dík za follow.
We want these guys.
To refresh, teď máme nulovej delay.
A couple of really banging end games to make it. So let's head to a break. We'll see you in a few.
Kdyby někdo chtěl něco kupovat ze shopu, nebo takhle, kupovat ze shopu. ze zítřejšího, tak zítra bude v shopu asi Jujutsu Kaisen a tady ta, nevím, jste zpěvačka. Nový Icon emote, tenhle pejsek a Adidas by měli vracet, takže no, dnešní shop je asi lepší. A ve čtvrtek update bude stahovací, takže tam budou zase nějaký další nový skiny, spolupráce a třeba nějaký návrat. Zítra ještě FNC je skin, nebo dnes je pryč, tyjo, nebo je, že jde pryč, asi pojám, ale ještě pár dnů, ne? Kamo, to jsou ty stejný klipy, jako to bylo předtím. Ono stejně ty FNC skiny vracejí, takže za měsíc, za 2 bude back. 3 dny ještě. 3 dny a 7 hodin. FNC je skoro v shopu, kdybyste někdo chtěl kupovat tyhle holky, tak ještě 3 dny. Yes. A Glider je dobrý v shopu, Manda, no. Mandu vrátili. Znova. Tabulka můžu ukázat, než půjdeme na 4. hru. Takže ještě jednou, kdo jste tady nebyl na tabulku, Huty F1HYX aktuálně 21. pozice, 187 bodů. Bohužel první 3 hry dneska zatím nedopadly nic moc. Poprvé byli 44., pak skončili 16. bez eliminace a teď poslední hru 45. Takže zatím hra, která byla dneska nejlepší, tak byla ta druhá. Ale můžete si všimnout, hele, koukejte na včerejšek, je to vidět? Mělo by to být vidět. Včera první hra 35., druhá hra 43., třetí hra 40. a potom to rozjeli 11., pak 30., ale potom to vyhráli. Takže tyhle ty hry, které jsme teď viděli, nic ještě neznamenají. Stále mají šanci, dají dobrou hru a top 20. Takže tak. Jdeme teda do druhé poloviny, no. Druhá polovina dnešního turnaje. Shopy jsou takový střed, no, nevracej, je škoda, že nevracej něco jako vzácnýho, no, nebo něco takovýho. Naposledy bylo v prosinci Naruto a Lolko. Na to polo, no. To polo už by mohli vrátit.
So if you look to the big names on the board, Dom and Demas, they did not have a great start yesterday, but a few great early games has managed to take them into top 10 contention. And you can see there in 16th, Swizzy and Pixie, after that victory royale that they desperately needed in our last game, Vinny Minor, they are now in contention. We could be seeing them on land, which we didn't expect yesterday.
Really big from these guys. It's actually nice not to have to scroll down all the way on the leaderboard to be able to see them. We only need to. We might not have to after this next game. Who knows? But yeah, really nice to see these guys rising up the standings. We all knew it was potential. We all knew they had the potential for it. It was almost like a what the heck yesterday? What's going on here? Really shocking. They fixed a lot of their mistakes and of course now found that winning formula as well. Really happy for these guys and actually hopefully they'll make land because they're a team that you want to see on land and you know they're going to perform.
Well, let's take another look at the leaderboard, because that was surely a Focus and Thomas zone. They've been asking for this. They've surely been sending nice messages to Zeke, and yet they are in 4th now. They've actually been overtaken by Shawfall and Repairs, who are my favourite revelation of day 211.
Yeah, again, we keep talking about them, but because they keep on surprising us, not the best of their game so far today, right? A 10th place, you know, a bit more quiet in comparison, but they still showcase part of why, again, they are going to be a threat in this lobby, and that is they can still make it to these end games, they can still get deep into them and get enough placement points to just keep them ticking along in that top 5, and in this case, because of, you know, Focus and Thomas probably having one of their worst games of the weekend, they are even able to move up a spot as well, so really impressed by these guys still.
Yeah, we haven't really seen them in this position before, right? This is a completely new situation for them to be in terms of the leaderboard. So excited to see what they can actually do under these circumstances. 3 more games left for them. That was a little bit more favorable zone for them as well. A little bit further south we saw it end there, and of course Battlewood Boulevard. So you know, it's kind of answered a couple of our questions about maybe this is a zone thing, because even for Thomas HD, a little bit closer, worse performance.
Tak snad teď, no.
What's that going to mean for the rest of the games? Who knows?
Guys, I hate to be so dramatic, but that was a terrible game for Sky and Scroll. They only got 8th mini-minor.
Oh, it's just not good enough, is it really? Pack it in, pack it in. No, it's nice. It's good to see these
mají vrátit polo. Jako byly o tom nějaký informace, to už bylo i minulý rok, teď taky něco bylo, jak mají přidat možnost si koupit separátně batohy a separátně skiny, nebo separátně pouze teda batohy. Ale zatím je do shopu vrátit nemohou, čeká se stále jako na ten update, no. A nemají ani ty Lego varianty a polo by mělo taky asi dostat s návratem. Jako to třeba udělali s Balenciagou, že jo, minulý rok.
Yeah, these guys, I'm not worried about them at all, right? A top 5 is exactly what they've been doing all weekend long. They get another top 5 there. A bit unfortunate, right, with the overdrive, with how Swizzy and Pixie were so active. Sky ends up just getting beamed from above. Honestly, I was hoping he'd be able to even stay alive and maybe squeeze out a couple extra bits of placement. But this is the thing, it's a relentless tournament, because even with how good they are, they must be getting frustrated at the fact that Chino and Pablo just refuse to fall off, right? They refuse to allow this tournament to just pass them by, and so they continue to be a threat in this one. We questioned whether or not they'd be, able to continue these types of performances when Zone isn't pulling directly on their POI. They must have just shut everyone up there right now, because this was still the type of game we've been seeing from them all weekend long, Minnie.
Yeah, lovely to see. They're outperforming Sky and Scroll in that last game. That's exactly what they need to do, finding eliminations along the way as well, which is exactly what we know that they can do. And they just got to keep chipping away now. They can't get too ahead of themselves. They've got to keep chipping away, because we saw it
Yes. Jdem na to. 4. hra, borci. Let's go.
Autobus.
Tak doufujeme, že ukáž autobus. No, to nám dají podle mě záběr na Hutyho na F1HYX hned. Autobus ze zhora. To je velká šance.
Nehmen wir bei mir ist hier.
Ja. Digga, ich aufgestellt nicht von Volker, Digga.
Co to je za aplikaci software, jak si takhle hned označí to, kam dropujou, jak se to jmenuje?
Ja, Pixie und so.
Kdo to z vás taky používá na kapy?
Ja, auf jeden Fall, ja.
To je insane, že jako ještě nevyletějí a hned vědí, kde to mají markovat, kde mají dropovat, ty vole.
Soll ich durchfliegen?
Drop maps to prostě jmenuje basic, jo? Jo, ono je možná i víc verzí, že? A vlastně kvůli něčemu podobnému, jestli jsem to dobře pochopil, tak dostal Bugha diskval, že? Ale pak to... Pak oznámili, že to jako neměl být diskval. Je to ono, že?
Ja, perfekt. Die packen wir sogar das Slapjack zusammen, ich bin ehrlich. Lass machen. Ist gut. Lass uns so bleiben.
Geh runter vom Slapjack.
Warum?
Die auf dem Berg?
Die taggen noch nicht. Oh mein Gott, als ob er mich taggt beim Zipline. 20, Digga. Wir haben Bot gespawnt. Pass auf.
Ten software od stejného borce, jak udělal ten novej cheat a používali jeho borci. Aha, takže ono to bude jasný.
Hab Impuls.
Nice.
Ono to bude mít více softwaru, ještě něco nějaký další. Pojďte se jich za follow. A já proto radši nepoužívám vůbec nic. A stejně by mi to ani nepomohlo. Tak, máme to. Hutyho F1HYXe. Let's go. Pojďme na to.
Obviously always going to be the prize
for
every single one of these duos, but it's also more than that. Right now, we are looking for a Major 1 Victory Royale wielder, and I think it's only a matter of time before we have to decide between Sky Scroll and Pablo. For that, Pixie, Swizzy, just looking to wipe out Dark Dominion. They've been very aggressive up against Truly and Gonzo. So many people were so surprised at the way that this conversation had kind of gone yesterday. but Swizzy and Pixie, they have
hlavně to nevidíme Hutyho F1HYXe, no, napravo. Nalevo jo, a napravo ne. Nalevo to znamená, že máme eliminaci my, napravo znamená, že jeden z nich je noklej, no, nebo mrtvej. Tak co, přepne nám to režie? Ten zvedá, tak zatím ještě ne.
Just took Swizzy a couple more moments longer than what he would have liked, but Pixie still able to open up with a separate angle here. Truly does take a big chunk, but it's just not good enough. Swizzy and Pixie might have taken them a couple moments longer, but they still managed to close things out. Ziffy and Dirty, though, already looking to try and capitalize. They don't want to give Pixie and Swizzy an opportunity to sort of heal back up, but a couple seconds sooner, maybe that goes in Ziffy's favor. Right now, though,
Konfandím z Ameriky.
They have to do the same sort of 180.
Asi však kliksoj, ty jo, stále držím jako pěstí.
Really working against him, and Nebs goes down. Nathan fighting for his life, but it is another wipeout here at Humble Hills.
Ten už by jaký to FNCS jako jednou aspoň mohl vyhrát, no.
Are just absolutely ruining Nebs.
Včera dával dobrý hry, co jsem viděl klipy. Vin tam taky dali, tak... Uvidíme, jestli postoupí. Tak vzpomenáš. F1HYX Huty.
Combining both days, and I mean, with just 2 matches left, I mean, Nebs and Nathan were 11th going into this, so they're still in qualifying range, but they were contenders, not only top 5 to be even top 3 or higher, and now they're just dropping lower and lower. But I mean, once they make it off spawn, they have some very incredible performances. So with 2 opportunities left, I'm hoping that they can make it happen.
It's unfortunately just seeming a little
to je
bit
asi jako pro nás,
like what would happen to them in
si myslím asi jako dobrá zpráva, že nezemřou v Titan fightu na landingu nebo v té lokaci. Nebo se jdou lutit, no. A to je vlastně poprvé se těch 4 her, že by to takhle stáhli oba.
Top 10, there's obviously some pretty big changes when it comes to the prize pool overall. It's not just the
jako nejlepší bylo, kdyby Huty F1HYX se poslal do lobby, že to je jasný. Ale takhle aspoň máme jistotu, že nezemřou takhle na začátku. Kde je Pablo? Dostali damage? Tak snad to F1HYX Huty, jo. Na Storm Search. Tak teď tady ta hra ta vyjde. 42 týmů.
Look, when you think about the point disparity between Pablo, Gino, Sky, Scroll, it's still within striking range. 62 points is what separates those two right now. But what I'm really wondering is whether Sky and Scroll can anticipate just being able to make the same plays they've been doing. No one's really bothered intervening with their usual surge base. Sky already, it's like second nature to him at this point. Take over this hill, just a little bit north of Battlewood Boulevard, and wait to see how many tanks you can collect after that.
Cirku je taky možný. A nebo vidíš, že už jsou blízko postupu, tak třeba nechtějí zemřít, no. Chtějí urvat ještě pár bodů, ať mají fakt jistotu, že postoupí. Ale oni mají kolik? 300, to by už i tak mělo stačit 300 bodů. Teď to je 200, že jo? 3 hry, většinou se to zvedá kolik? 20-25 bodů, 300 by mělo už snad stačit. Ale uvidíme, co se stane. 320 kval to jo, to na 100%. 250 až 300 to bylo. Na postup.
We've seen it historically. We've seen it at LANs. We've seen it on different regions. It's always risky to do a drop spot change, but that's not the only option. If you want to take out one of the top teams earlier on, they know the side of the map they drop at. They could take a fight. I think in terms of being on game 10, you don't make any of those risky changes yet. You play this match out, you see how it goes. I mean, they've made top 10 every game. Like you said, Sky Scroll have not only made top 10 every game as well. Yesterday, they held the consistency throughout the whole day. You kind of hope something changes here.
Huty nevím, kolik má teď přesně pointů, ale jsou 21. před tady tou hrou.
Considering, you know, Pablo Chino want that number 1 spot.
Těsně před 200 stovkami. 187 tady píše Mark. No. Důležitá teď tady ta hra.
Definitely pretty neck and neck between the top two right now on the leaderboard, but that's not to say we saw Sharkantini already have a crazy point jump off of just one Victory Royale placement. And that's the same thing that a duo like Thomas and Focus is going to have to replicate. They've had a really rough time with trying to pull things into their favor. They haven't done poorly throughout this weekend by any means. They have definitely been able to convert some solid endgame placement finishes. It's just, they're going to need more than that. It can't just be good, it has to be great every single time from this point on if they want to find themselves in a realistic conversation for bringing home the X champions.
Size and Scary have not matched their performance from yesterday. There's good news and bad news on this one. I mean, they've done so well in day one that they're still pretty comfortably in the qualifying range for the Summit 1 LAN, but they want more than that. They want to prove that they are a top team.
Vychází doleva nahoru.
We've seen how quickly you could jump up the standings with big matches.
Že nebudou muset nikam se pořádně to
muset přemístit. We're gonna need another pop-off match here today for them to come back.
But for a team like Size and Sketty, these are both players that have been around the scene for a decent amount of time. They're not new to this, but at the same time, you could argue that they were definitely new to being one of the leading teams in a Major 1 Grand Finals leaderboard, Takata. And so, how do you think that that's kind of impacted their performance here today? Because you would think, hey, maybe they can run it back, but that just has not been the case.
Zóna opravdu jde doleva nahoru, to by mohlo být pro ně dobrý, no. Nějakou basecool tam postavit, dávat hity na Storm Surge, ideál.
It was nerves, I don't think it was pressure. It was literally that one fight to kick off the day has kind of set the tone. The remainder of their matches, I'm not sure if it's a mental thing, I'm not sure what's causing them to struggle so much, but ever since the start of the day, it's just been downhill. I don't know, they need something big to kind of fuel themselves up again. Get that motivation, that confidence back from what we saw yesterday, but Kaido Haijo, they're going for the play. They're trying to catch Sky Scroll, our top team, off guard. Sky gets fully cracked now, down to 46 HP. Taco, this could be the change we've been looking for the Major 1 Finals.
Oh, Kito's chasing, Haijo's chasing. They don't want to let Sky get away. He's trying to see where he can escape to. And just based off that red hand signal, he's heading straight deeper into the Storm Scroll. Trying to see if he can play catch up, but
ne Hutyho naštěstí a F1HYX, ale někoho jinýho.
Aspoň že tak. Haijo, how badly do you want it? Because for Sky and Scroll, and this is definitely going to put a huge hiccup into their overall game strategy. They might be looking to see what else they could steal from inside of this Surge base, knowing that there's got to be some white heals possibly stuck left waiting, but no, Scroll! That was the intent.
No way.
He just stole everything. He took all of the white heals with him. And for Kito and Haijo, this is just completely blown up in their face.
Jako ono zvedne, no, ale
to get that elimination.
On taky nemá bílý.
And just missing out. It's not going to put them in a position to where it might be difficult for them to even escape Battlewood Boulevard in the first place.
Yeah, the reverse heist from Scroll. Just taking the pizza, taking all the whites. Yeah, you can see it happen right here.
Splashes.
That was yeah, everything. They had medkit, splash, and pizza. He just threw it
all. Sebral všechno, aha.
That's
unlucky.
A little hiccup for Sky and Scroll, but I mean, to be fair, seeing that both players are still up, it should be a pretty easy regroup, and they can continue on forwards.
But now they're gonna have to think about it for the rest of the lobbies. That's gonna happen again. Teeny trying to see what else he can pop off with. Tweg.
Držej se na levé části mapy, no, tam pošli jiný duo.
Here, Shark looking for the secondary one, and yeah, no problem whatsoever following up on his duo's aggression. So a good, solid couple of eliminations to kick things off here in Game 10, but
první zóna jim vyšla.
Kind of trailing back on over Pablo Chino. We saw them sort of leaving Sandy Strip pretty early on, and they've made sure to head a little bit further north.
Kde jsou? Tady jsou?
Solid spot nahoře, že?
Got a zone pulling more north here.
No, budou se muset přemístit sem, no.
Of Chap and Flixy right now. They have been kind of dropped down to 17th place on the leaderboard. They're just on the cutoff. Hoping we see them later on have a solid match here. They've been given the opportunity. Pablo Chino, though, looking healthy, obviously, despite having to rotate a little further than usual.
Oh, man. It just keeps getting worse, though. Over by Battlewood Boulevard. Sky trying to make his way on over. Keto and Hydro punished very heavily for their failed execution of that sneak play onto Sky. The bigger problem now to contend with, though, is that Belugi and Zangi are just hanging out nearby, and that's going to make it so problematic for either of these duos to kind of leave the area. I just feel like the third-party opportunity is still so prevalent here right now.
Sezónou. Ty jsou skoro dole a zóna nahoře. Což pro Hutyho a F1HYX je pozitivní zpráva, pochopitelně, no. Když Sky a Scroll jsou mimo. Budou se pospíchat do zóny. Tyjo, ta zóna vychází přímo doleva, oni tu zónu ještě chytou na tom kopci. Oni tu zónu, sledujte, ještě chytli na kopci, ne? To by bylo hodně dobrý pro ně. Na high.
The zone has pulled pretty far north, and so they've got a lot of time and ground to make up for.
Zóna vlevo nahoře, let's go, tak to jim vyšlo krásně. Kdyby zóna byla vpravo dole, tak to je na druhou stranu.
A little bit closer to the outskirts of the edge of zone.
To je zóna jim zatím vychází, no.
See if they can live up to the hype, though. I mean, we've seen Sky and Scroll play consistent, even when zones pull far. So they're gonna have to prove themselves once again now, when the gap has been closing more and more between first and second. I drop Marius. This is a team that's right outside of the cutoff in 22nd place.
Krásně v zóně. Kluci naši.
They want to make it to the Summit 1 land, but for that, they have to figure out the storm surge situation.
Teď bez storma, no.
Doesn't have to look pretty. They just got to get it done.
75 hráčů je dost.
That's really all they're trying to defend right now is both their namesakes. I drop Medius.
Oni si chillujou vpravo. Tam je nikdo zatím motorovat teď nebude na Storm Surge, takže to je nice. 25 top týmů jsou placementy, takže ještě 14 týmů musí zemřít. To je dost.
And Takata, it's just elimination points and potentially bringing yourself one placement closer where you need to be. Darko's going to be cleared up though.
Zóna jde dále doleva.
Not really many other
takže F1HYX Huty hned se můžou posouvat dál.
Wondering what happened to Vico Malabuka. It's a very good zone for them. They're 76 below, struggling on mats, rotating late into the zone.
Si vyplýtvají teď dílí shieldy.
Yeah, this is not the situation we want to see them in, especially with how good of a recent performance they just had, getting second with 12
zatím mi vychází zóna, takže ušetří to matro a ten high by nám zase mohli ukázat dominaci. Minulou hru to nevyšlo, tak snad teď.
And the surge being the first major finals we've had this
10 below to naštve, no. 11 below.
How much it affects everything.
6 buff už.
Part of the problem though, at least for this lobby for Vico and Malabuka, is just the fact that sometimes when you get these zone pulls, when you look to go and try and build your surge off of set strategies, teams just aren't going to be where you'd originally kind of expected them to be at, right? Everybody's rotating a little bit differently. These big surge bases, everybody marks so clearly from the elevation points, but Sky, Scroll, they've managed to come this far. They've made it into Wonky Land. Their build count looking a little bit scuffed here. They definitely love a fight, definitely love a refresh. Tom is going to lose focus.
Dead.
Caught in a little bit of that congestion now, trying to see if he can elevate his position, avoid some of the motion underneath, but Sky, Scroll,
6 týmů ještě, Thomas
got
dead.
Exactly what they were after. They're gonna take down Thomas HD, and they'll be forced to sit and wait to see what Game 11 has in store, but the Danes just continuing to extend their position on the leaderboard.
I feel bad for Thomas' focus. He got Sky and Scroll on one side.
Body.
Swizzy. Pixie on the other. really just not what you want to see going into
Jim
the
stále
zone.
vychází ta zóna, zase jim to jde dolů. Kde jsou? Vpravo někde, ne?
They've set themselves up. Dimish and Darm as well.
Tady.
Managed to bump themselves up.
No, takže trochu vlevo. Trochu výš jsou. Podle tam čekali na to, že třeba zóna se bude vracet nahoru. A přebrali by high, tak uvidíme, co vymyslí, no, když to jde dolů.
In the fight that was taking place with Reason, O'Reilly, a couple of other teams. Definitely wanting to get a bit more
jedno duo nad sebou, ty už jdou do zóny. Moneymaker eliminace.
89 above currently on the surge damage threshold. With the way the zone is pulled.
Ještě jeden tým, a už jsou placementy. F1HYX tam trochu dostal.
Rolling down.
Huty, ty vole, Huty dole, chudák, no. To je blbý. Huty dead, no. Huty dead, bohužel. F1HYX taky. Ty vole, oni jsou 26. Ty vole, oni skončí 26. prostě placement od těch placement bodů. To je unlucky, ty vole. Zona jim vyšla, ale pak tady to, no. Tak tady to nevyšlo už. Ty krásu, škoda, no. F-ko. Dvě hry zbývají, no. To je blbý. To je blbý, to zas bohužel spadnou, no. Ach jo, škoda.
Take a quick look at what Chino's been up to. They were below going into this end game, but all it's gonna take are a few good shots connecting, and it could be enough. Why up above could be a potential very good zone for them. It pulls back over to that hill, currently sitting in 9th, but for Swizzy and Pixie, they've already proved themselves throughout the day. We were close to having a devastating kind of land in the sense that our global championship trio, almost all of them,
Top 20 je na postup potřeba.
could have not made it, but the job isn't done for Swizzy and Pixie yet. They are still in 16th place going into this match, despite all the solid performances. One more good one, though, could help them solidify it. But Shark and Teeny, they also are looking for the win.
They want to go up. Cheating and Giannis might have beat them to it. One fun part about whenever the zones pull into this forest territory of Old Stumpy is that players can just connect right onto the treetops themselves and cheat in.
Tabulka bude pohře po tajtý. Jestli to vyhraje znova Shark.
They've got to make sure that they are keeping tabs on where secondary height is at, especially when it's a duo like Shark and Teeny, just waiting for the perfect time to strike. Gonna continue targeting underneath, but they'll opt to drop a mild layer swap. Still hanging out towards front side of zone. Chino, Pablo, a little bit more of that backside position. Kind of wrapping around. I'd have the sneak jump, Hunt of Mumsy, and Sky Jump trying to break in. Pickaxe through, it's good. Chino gets the first. Pablo helps him get the second. Sky Jump and Mumsy just never stood a chance here as they continue marking their way forward.
Perfect couple of eliminations. It was a duo that was looking healthy as well.
Sharktini, though, it's their
time to strike. Now looking for not only the height, but also a couple of eliminations alongside it. Yanis put into panic as Cheatin is down to just a sliver of HP. Yanis left them alone as now Sharktini have control.
But everything is just so open-ended right now. Sky, he's gonna have to get the job done all by himself here currently. Ultimate low, but he is just so far away from where Hyde is currently positioned. Still trying to make sure that his position isn't too heavily revealed, but it's just not good enough. Loses a big chunk of his HP. Has to use up his last couple of pizza slices even. Overdrive grenade effects at least gonna help him. But without any materials left to work with, he's got to connect with a big pump shot. He has to find it now, at least get a little goodie bag out of Giannis's loot. But still, more problems pouring in here. Sky, only so many places left to run. Looking back now, gets cringe in the process though. That's gonna be his fourth. And the eliminations just underneath them though. Pablo, Chino, they've scouted out this solo. Don't know if they realize that it's Sky just yet, but Sky scrambling, trying to avoid them. It doesn't matter how, when, or why, as long as he can stay stay alive just a couple placements further. Medi is not going to be brought down just yet, but Sky finally cut short there by Shaco's, and that just leaves Pablo and Chino to play catch up here from Ultimate Low.
Shark má ten high, co?
Actually Chino who took down Skrull, so they know this is the chance to make something happen, but they cannot let it go to waste. Pablo goes down, Chino's left alone. He has more than enough loot, but the issue is, how's he gonna make it back?
A vyšlo jim to, no. Teď nepušovali Hutyho F1HYXa na začátku hry a vyhrajou to tyho znova.
It might just be too much. Pablo gets finished now. Chino has to find his rotate in.
But this is the recovery tour of a lifetime right now for Swizzy and Pixie. Chino still deep inside of the storm, but he's gonna take down Medias, waiting for that siphon to kick in. He needs it now more than ever. Stuck as a solo in the backside of the zone, and Sharkantini from way overhead, still applying so much pressure onto all these teams underneath. iDrop forced to just try and drop down to Ultimate Low here, but he might just drop straight into where Swizzy and Pixie are at. They're going for the top. Shark's gonna be the first one to the punch though. He brings down Swizzy. Now it's just Pixie left in the solo clutch scenario. But
oni mají 300 bodů za 4 hry. Za dnešek. Oni ani nebudou potřebovat včerejší body na postup, to vypadá. Kámo, jim reálně stačí dnešek. Oni ani ty body ze včerejška nepotřebujou. 294 bodů za 4 hry, co ti dává? Dobrý, no. Tak se pojďme podívat na tabulku. Sky Scroll 632 bodů, Shark už je třetí, 446. Pablo druzí, Malibuka čtvrtý. Tomas šestý. Janis 10. místo, Volko 12. Jabko 13. Neps 14. Flixy 15. Rezon 16. Kolik je to na top 20? 220 bodů. Takže za tady tu hru nějakých 20 bodů přibylo, abyste byli top 20. Takže 220, ono to bude 200 až 300, no. No a Huty F1HYX, jsem to říkal, no, 25. Ajajajajajajaj. 2 hry, no. Jak to, no. Musí dát oboje hry dobrý. Oboje hry dobrý, no, to chce. 26. skončili opravdu, jedno místo od těch placementů 0 eliminací, no. Zatím dneska 0 eliminací, 0 eliminací, 0 eliminací. Musí dát teď dobrou hru, jinak to bude asi GG. Pak jedině, že by tu poslední hru zase vyhráli, no, jako včera. A pak tady jsou další. Moneymaker 32. A takhle to vypadá dál. Jako 187, kdyby ten win dali jako včera. Kolik vlastně měli včera bodů? Jste psali 94, že? Z té hry, no. Nejlépe win, anebo obě hry dobrý.
He knows when to go down, when to stay up. He knows how to play these end game situations, and even this at the end, lovely shot. I think it was from Shark actually. Yeah, look at that. That's beautiful stuff. And I think that should get them inside of that top 5, which is very, very surprising for me, because going into this weekend, I didn't think they would do it because of their Osborne situation.
I'm wondering with this duo and some of the others we're now starting to see step up on day 2 very quickly, Eleven. I'm probably wrong on this, but I feel like in the heats, obviously these duos, they're playing for consistency. Obviously it's great to get victory royale, but really what they're trying to do is just make sure they hit their benchmarks in those 5 games. Now that we have got 12 games on our hands, we're starting to see these teams adjust to a different way of playing Fortnite, and maybe that's one of the reasons that day 2 is a different side.
Pojď zaspívej něco, kdybych si zapl jako karaoke mod, jo? Ježišmarja, no. To nechceš vidět, to nechceš vidět. Spíš slyšet, než vidět. Kolik je tady Shark? 4. Ne, 3. A, 3 jsou, no. 3. Jako, vem si, že na druhý místo potřebujou... Kolik to je? 150 bodů přibližně? 144 přesně? 144 bodů, to by museli vyhrát oboje hry, aby se ještě dostali na druhé místo. No, to 3. místo asi udrží, no. Když je teda Huty, s F1HYXem teď 2krát nevypnou na landingu. Ale já si myslím, že teď asi jako Huty mu F1HYXovi nebude možná jako co zbývat, no, možná do nich půjdou agresivně, no, F1HYX Huty, do Sharka. Uvidíme, jak to bude vypadat.
Hallo?
Uvidíme, co navaří.
Ja.
Přepíšu za hry.
Was denn?
Ja, wenn wir da auf 0 Metz sind fast. Du musst ja nichts forcen. Irgendwo ist immer ein Solo.
Ja, stimmt schon.
Checkst du? Also es ist so, might as well einfach warten und hoffen.
Jaký mám level ve Fongu? 130. Musím zabrat. Máme nějakých 40 dnů do konce sezóny.
Als ich ihn gesehen habe, genau da, wo ich gedroppt bin, ist Pablo aus der Metal Builds da rausgekommen. Unter uns. Das hätte ich gesehen, hätte ich vorher gesehen, dass er rauskommt, wäre ich ja nicht hingegangen, weißt du?
Ja, ich hab's nicht genau gesehen, ich meine aber nur
ja.
so. Es hat schade, dass wir kein Pre bekommen haben da.
Ja, man passt auch nicht viel aus.
Ich meine, ich hatte nicht beste Komst,
musím si dát win a potom aspoň top 5. No by možná i ten win jeden stačil, ale když dají win a bude to zase nějakých 90 bodů. Jo, když dají win, 90 bodů, tak rázem to máš 277. No. Teď za tady tu hru se to posunulo o 20 bodů. Zbývají 2 hry, takže kdyby se to zase posunulo o 20 bodů každou hru, tak to máš 260 na postup, což by těch 277, nebo kolik by to bylo, by bylo těsný, no, 277, to by bylo třeba, nevím, možná i to 20., 19., 18. místo, no. Takže budou to mít těžký, no. Ten win by se hodil, no. Win by hodně pomohl. Dobrý, já to Šimo nevidím, nemusíš to spamovat do chatu na TikToku.
Stay there.
We've got 2 more games to go today, and a lot of big name duos are indeed bouncing back. So let's take a look at the leaderboard and see where things stand before we head to game
season 3 bude comeback Fortniteu, cash by, ale nemyslím si to.
So as you can see, Sky Scroll are at the top, but again their win is not secured.
Nová season ve Fortniteu podle mě už neudělá jako bohužel jako comeback Fonka. Comeback Fortniteu by muselo, nevím, přijít úplně něco nového do té hry. Nová season není špatná, ale prostě není to comeback Fortniteu, že jo.
Yeah, even in that mid game, Kaito and Hydro caused him a few problems, but still making it here into this end game. And earlier on, I was like, maybe you'd want scroll solo clutching based on how this weekend's gone. I'm gonna eat those words. I was wrong. Sky absolutely popped off right here, doing unthinkable things, really, from what we've seen from players this weekend. I mean, he's just jumping around, finding shots, with no builds as well for most of that 11, and just unbelievable stuff from Sky. These are the sort of performances that can win you an FNCS.
Budou to mít těžký, jestli chtějí udělat nějaký velký comeback, no.
Duo FNCS wins of previous years and chapters. I think back to Swizzy and Vanya when they won, and they won off the back of great performances, but amazing solo clutches from both Swizzy and from Vanya. I think again, if they were to walk away with the FNCS championship, Sky and Scroll would be able to say the same thing. They would win.
Oni landing minulou hru neprohráli, že jo? Žralok to stáhnul. Jako Žralok už má jasný postup, top 20 mají. Tak uvidíme, jestli teď změní nějak jako ten gameplay, jestli budou chodit někam jinam, nebo jestli tentokrát budou pušovat do tyho F1HYXe. Tabulku ukážu. Před poslední hrou. Tak tabulka ještě jednou, Shark teda 3. Sky Scroll 1. No, tady ještě ty první 2 týmy si to ještě rozdají, no. Tam to ještě jako 42 bodů. Tam se to ještě může změnit trošku. A Huty F1HYX teda 25. no. Ty musí zabrat. Dobrou hru teď dát. Dneska zatím ty 4 hry, bohužel nic moc, no. Bohužel, žádná eliminace. Druhá hra byly 16. Tyjo, ta druhá hra, kdyby opravdu Shark tam nepřibrali ten high, tak by teď možná i v té top 20 byli. To je škoda. Dixie, ahoj. Tak, kolik nám zbývá?
If you're a Pablo,
Minuta.
Wingu and Chino fan, you've got to be excited about this. If you're a Sky and Scroll fan, you've got to be a little bit wary. Is remember at the beginning of the show, we were talking about their game 3 yesterday. It was that wonky land zone. We said, yeah, that was the game when they didn't have a very good one. They got a 20th or something. We had a pretty much exact same zone right there. And look what they have done. They bounced back from that mistake that they made in that game 3 yesterday. And given pretty much the same circumstances, they get a 4th with 7 limb. So they've answered those questions we had for them at the beginning.
I just want to ask them so badly about how they prepared for everything last night and what they did with their time. But we don't have much time to even speculate about that. We've got to head to page number 2 because all eyes have to be on Swizzy and Pixie right now. There were 48 going into today. They've already scored 289 more points than they did yesterday, given that yesterday...
Za chvilku. Teď no, já nevím, no, teď je blbý to, že když opravdu teď by to dopadlo stejně, že se zemřou, já nevím, před top 25 nejlepších, že jo, duo týmů, když bez eliminace, tak rázem je třeba dotáhne, no, tady ty 3 týmy, klidně 4, a rázem už budou ty 30, no. A pak to dotahovat ze 180, 190 bodů na 240 máš 50, no, to... Teď musí dát dobrou hru, no, jinak to bude těžký tu last. Teď.
Ach, scheiße, mein Doppler geht nicht.
Dass sie jetzt nicht Crash out auf euch gehen.
Die müssen sich auch callen. Haben weniger Punkte als wir.
Jak to vlastně funguje v tom softwaru na ten drop? To jako tam zadáš... tam zadáš, kudy ti letí autobus. A ono to tak jako rychle vypočítá, kde máš nejlépe skákat, jo? Kam chceš letět. Já jsem to nikdy nepoužíval, takže nevím, jak to funguje. Je to tak? OK. Proč se neskusím já kvalifikovat? To by dopadlo. Ale kdyby byly zero buildy, tak bych to zkusil, ale v buildech... Ale to je úplně zbytečný zkoušet. V buildech já už nestíhám jako hrát proti najťákům takovým to. Ještě v chapter 1 to šlo, když neuměli pořádně stavět.
Ja, Shakers landet jetzt. Bleib hinterm Baum. Pax tot, der war 20.
Důchodce je to tak, no. Boomer, no.
What the fuck, Pablo tot.
To vem si taky, já si pamatuju, jak Alkan docela jako... Alkan hraje stále kapy, ale pamatuju si, když Alkan hrál jako kapy a ty vole... Byl jako, neříkám, že není na topu, ale ty kapy mi přijde, že hrával více, více se mu i dařilo. To byla chapter 2, chapter 3, no. A tam vlastně v chapter 3 vyšly ty zero buildy. Tam to bylo nice. Ale jsme už staří, no, na to. Přichází nová generace. Tak, co máme Hutyho F1HYXe?
Já.
Co proto musím vše udělat, co abych byl dobrý jako Fortnite hráč? No tak trénovat. Trénovat, zlepšovat se.
But Sky, Scroll, Chino, Pablo,
změnili landing.
next to each other, Chino and Pablo. They want to take this for themselves. They're not leaving it up to fate. Who's going to be the first one down?
Dobrý, no.
Beats them to the punch. Chino is down.
Dobrý fight.
Pablo is finished. Sky and Scroll win out with the surprise off-spawn contest.
Are you kidding
me? We've seen Pablo,
this in the Invitational. We've seen this in various regions, but now to kick off 2026 in the EU FNCS Major Finals, Sky and Scroll are solidifying themselves in that first place. They do not want to let anybody shake them out of it. There was a bit of trouble in the last match, and now the second place team, Chino and Pablo, wanted to put themselves in that first place spot, but after Sky and Scroll have just won that fight, now Chino and Pablo, they are in a world of trouble.
This is our FNCS. That's all I'm thinking is running through the minds right now for Sky and Scroll. A message has been sent and delivered, stamped and confirmed. Pablo and Chino, that was going to be their best opportunity to try and close the gap. I don't think that it's going to be possible for them to run that back here in game 12.
Jestli to takhle vidí ve hře, tak unlucky, no. A to asi jenom replay. Ne, Huty je noklej od Sharka do hajzlu.
That's just not in the cards.
It's literally what has to happen, though. For Chino and Pablo, Sky and Scroll would have to go down before the end game, and like you mentioned, Taco, odds, it's not gonna look like it will end up that way. Akira Karama actually switching up their strategy a little bit.
They do land south of Frigid,
but now they've decided to take an early rotate to Dark Dominion. They know how contested it's been. Hopefully, it doesn't mess up Swizzy and Pixie's strategy. I've just realized Swizzy did go down, though, so Pixie's left as a solo now in a 1v2.
Moneymaker dead.
Akira Karama, this is also different sightseeing for this duo. They've had enough of the north portion of the map. It has not been working out for them. So they're going to play surprise contest, but it's just going to help out truly indirectly, truly taking shots now at Akira. Incredibly low on his shields, but Pixie being eliminated. At the end of the day, Swizzy and Pixie have done a lot to play catch up, but it is still so difficult to deal with those kinds of last minute surprises. Sharktini, though, Huty and Fishy were already outside of the qualification range, and with TD and Shark being in third place to kick off match lottery number 11, it's no surprise that they look for the immediate 50-50. It is a nightmare scenario right now for Huty and Fishy. Their hopes of land rest purely on how badly does Shark and TD want to keep them locked out of it. And Takada, it doesn't matter where Huty Fishy try to go, Shark and Teeny are going to find them.
Yeah, they've got one thing in
mind.
Dead, well, I know a first place finish is very great for the EU major finals, Shark Teeny being in third, but I think their priority is making sure that Huty and Fishy do not make it to the Summit 1 major LAN over in Dusseldorf. And so far, it's looking like it might end up that way. Huty Fishy were 25th.
Bohužel, no.
Going into this match and now getting eliminated off spawn by Shark and Teeny. So many big changes.
Dneska to tolik nevyšlo, no, zatím. Ještě B1.
Now I've got so many things going on in mind. I mean, we've got the top 20 cutoff. Some teams just on the edge there. Noah Reason, Chat Flixy, Hari Kami, Skyjump Mumsy.
Dneska se bohužel jenom propadávají, no. Ze 14.
Hoping that Sky and Scroll might go down before the end game, but if that does not happen, the gap between first and second is about to skyrocket.
Teď je otázka, no, jestli tu poslední hru nechají stejnou, nebo jestli takticky zkusí něco jiného na jistotu, aby vydrželi do lejtu. Nebo jestli si prostě řeknou, OK, zkusíme to, pušnem toho Sharka hned na začátku, nebudeme čekat. Jako Shark už postup má, no. Ten už jenom hraje o jaký peníze.
Like a real dark horse contender here. I don't think many people, if anyone at all, would have really placed them into a top 5 leaderboard position. But here on day 2, they're looking to see just how much further they can really climb. Still realistic for them to possibly overtake Vico and Malabuka in that 4th place position yet again. Sky and Scroll, though, man, what a start for this duo. They are so close to being our Major 1 finals champions. It is like, it's like you almost want to say it, but we still just have to see them fully flush it out. And while it is very, very likely, it's still one of those things where you never know what can go wrong next, because we've already seen teams kind of pivot their original strategies, testing out some new methods. Akira Karama is a great one to reference, because normally they've been heading a little bit south of that Frigid Fortress position, but with Vico Malabuka already had some surge issues throughout the course of today, and now they have to keep trying to figure out how to revamp their own surge strategies, losing that possible opportunity onto the French duo, Chat Flixy, also kind of skirting around the mountainside.
Yep, Flixy, say the best German player performance in 2025. Now, they're just on the cusp of qualifying in 15th place. They have 261 points. But if they go down early, that could quickly turn around.
They're both just such competent fighters, though. Chat Flixy dealing with the likes of Twek and Midro. They've certainly not had the weekend that they would have wanted to, but experience is experience. At the end of the day, Chap lurking around, gets a big shot, start things off. Midro made it closer than what he would like it to be, but Twek now from underneath trying to see where he can chop break through.
Když vyhrajou, urvali by 90 bodů, nebo no 90. Prostě win, no. 90 bodů potřebuju aspoň. Jako včera.
And they might just find it onto Twek. Doesn't really have anywhere left to run. Cheeto count was running relatively low here. Gets a good side jump off onto FyXy. Jump shot to connect, but Chap still able to help seal the deal here. One more time, a couple of eliminations going to be confirmed. Kings of the Mountainside for right now.
Big early game for Chap and FyXy. That's what they needed. Yannis cheating. This is a duo that is a bit more comfortable. They are in the top 10. So they're in qualifying range now. Not much more to do, but they would like to obviously bump themselves up the leaderboard.
Top 20 postupuje týmu.
More importantly still, eager to represent their home country, home pride, right? It's Germans, knowing it's going to be Major One Summit LAN in Dusseldorf. That home crowd, very likely to get pretty loud for those two. So they definitely want to make sure that they leave things on a positive note. For Shark and Teeny, though, think back to where Chap and FyXy were just at. There is a possibility that later on, Shark Teeny might actually end up clashing with those two a little bit later on.
Dobrá bejska, dobrá.
For the vending machines right now, but we'll have to just wait and see.
Je, stále šance. Včera taky vyhráli poslední hru a nikdo to nečekal.
They've definitely had a much more volatile day too.
Včera to bylo jako crazy překvápko, jenom boom, high ground a win.
Still managed to overcome and despite dealing with consistent
ale zopakovat to, no.
They have managed to stay within that top 20 threshold, and obviously you want to see two German icons in Dusseldorf repping at the LAN.
Issue is, before the previous match, they got 36th, 24th. The 7th place kind of bumped them up, but if they have another match where they don't make it into that end game, they can quickly fall short and not be in qualifying range any longer, so hopefully they don't have to take too many risks in this game.
I feel like the overall landscape of the map, though, had to change pretty drastically the moment that these players caught wind of Pablo and Chino being eliminated so early on, because that leaves Sandy Strip up for contention. So many other teams might have been able to take advantage of what's actually offered from that POI, and I think that's why we're seeing a little bit more of littering throughout. Battlewood Boulevard, even teams kind of just more willing to scavenge those southern sections of the map. So make their way through. Panzer, Yapko, lighting overhead. Calm before the storm. Touching down where the rest of the lobby's at.
There's a team that lands close to Chino and Pablo, but saying that they're just heading north already, we don't really know if they were able to kind of capitalize on that. One of the 3 duos opting for this rotate as well. Like you said, the calm before the storm.
Jestli poslední hru vyhrajou. Přál bych si to, no, ale
of the major.
Vyhrát úplně poslední hru.
On these players' shoulders.
They have had a decent
potom, co se odehrál ty hry ještě druhý den. Jako šance, no, ale bohužel zatím to nevypadá.
Pretty sensible to believe that teams that are within that top 13 should be pretty much confirmed for that Summit LAN qualification spot. But ultimately, you don't want to leave things up to chance. You don't want to be sitting on the sidelines. You want to make sure that you play out these lobbies as thoroughly as possible, because it's going to be the last 2 opportunities that all of these teams get. Teeny, Shark still lingering over by Wonkyland too, so when you think about teams like Yepko Panzer opting for those deep north side, dead side rotations,
jo, F1HYX a Huty to jsou čeští hráči.
For where Shark and Teeny are getting up to, and honestly, Shark Teeny, I mean, think about the 2 wins that they've gotten, both 100+ point games if I'm not mistaken, right? Just based off the additional elimination, basically 100 point games each time, and hey, you never know. Pablo Chino being taken out. super early on.
Bohužel ne. Zemřeli na
things could start to get a little dangerous for who's actually going to finish in that top 2.
That's what I was thinking. You know, they've got a big smile on their face. Everything's going well. They eliminated F1HYX off spawn. No, we'll have to worry about Wonky Land. And now the second place team that was right above them has gone down with 0 points. It's their perfect opportunity to overthrow them. Sure, Repairs, another team in that top 5. They're trying to get above Vico Malabuka. Sayaz Scary yet to show us that they have what it takes to continue with their performance from yesterday. Now dropped to 8th. These players aren't even focused on qualifying to the LAN anymore. They're focused on getting the best placement possible.
For Size and Scary, compared to yesterday, it's kind of been a day to forget. Ever since that opening blow against Azad, losing the 1v2, it's definitely seemed
měli by zónu blízko. Zítra škola UP. Ale tak aspoň je zkrácený to, je zkrácený týden, ne? Máte to i Slováci zkrácený? Že v pátek volno máte? Je to tak, ne? Státní svátek. Že jo, yes? Nice. To hned vypne, jak to riftlo, jo? Rebootu. Dobrý, jo?
Thomas is known for his AR aim. It was actually Nebs. They've had such a tough day as well. Nebs and Nathan. I'm wondering if both players actually did end up going down after that. For Thomas HD and Focus though,
když to nedá Huty, jak mu budeš fandit, záleží, kdo všechno postoupí.
Good news for them. It's 5th and 6th. The gap is
a když tak asi z Ameriky možná kliksoj, ty jo.
From 3rd to 2nd.
Ten stále ještě FNCS nevyhrál.
They have a very good chance. At least push themselves.
A jinak z Evropy, tyjo, nevím, no. Asi nikomu. F1HYX Huty. Stále věřím. Stále věřím, že ještě šance je. Zopakujou tak včera dají win a je to tam.
Never want to bite off more than you can chew, especially when there's so many duos that are also still so hungry to see how many more placement points they can climb up. Learning points, learning pains, growing pains too for Darn Demish here, but for Twy and Cringe, 51 below currently. Zone pool just outside Squibbly Shores. They're going to be harassed now by some of these surge ticks. They've got Miro and Joshua on the other side of their builds, but can they force the engagement? I don't think they want to get up close and personal just yet. They'd rather see if they can just net a couple of tags from afar. It'd be much easier to work with than having to go for a 50-50 and risk placement against the teams. Burke will be isolated and brought down. That's a big break right now for Twy and Cringe.
I'm almost more scared for Hari and Cammy that are right beside them, considering that
Huty, bohužel ne.
Right now.
Čekáme na poslední hru, která rozhodne.
Things were looking so bright in 5th place. The damage was there, but now Repairs is left as a solo, forced to close this game out alone.
Jo, včerejší win jim dal 97 bodů, takže když to zopakujou, tak ty body by jim měly přibližně stačit.
Might have just stayed a little bit too long inside that last zone. Sure, you get the surge you were looking for, finding the elimination, but ultimately teams that are already based in just better positions, kind of keeping Repairs at bay right now. He's gonna have to wait for the rest of the lobby to move first before he can even consider.
Já se nekopím na tabulku, jo.
His current box position. Twy and Cringe though, picking back up where they left off. And now there's a little bit of flow state happening here. Okay, another nice little elimination pick off there.
25. Až to dohraje.
All that matters right now is making sure that you stay above that surge threshold, but more elimination points never hurts.
No, it does not. Sky and Scroll, they've made it back now from the
Zemřeli na začátku hry, no, na Žraloka.
That pressure was quickly relieved.
Ty krásu, druhý místo je dead, takže Shark
With the way Shark and Tini are looking though, it's gonna be tough.
Když dají dobrou hru, tak ještě můžou dohnat opravdu to druhé místo, no. Když nezemřou.
Being on the edge of zone now, a very long rotate to go. Let's hope they can make it.
But it's Vico Malabuka, Takata. When's their victory royale going to happen? This is a duo that I'm real surprised that we haven't seen them have at least one win throughout the matches that have taken place already here today. And don't get me wrong, top 5 obviously indicates that they've had relatively strong performances when they needed to, but I want to see them fully lock in. I want to see them convert an endgame into a victory royale. And I wouldn't hate to see it, better late than never after all, but for Sky and Scroll, just another elimination added to the pile. 3 in total, 558 above now, make that 566 for the surge threshold. But the point is, they've got more than enough to work with. They're fully aware of where Ultimate High is at, and fortunately for us, they get a little
Huty čeká v lobby.
Trying to keep tabs on what's in front of him, never know what's coming
Čekají na last hru.
Unfortunately, that was just too much pressure to deal with. A great collapse there by Sky and Scroll.
This is not what you want to see if you're Chino and Pablo right now. Even Sharktini, if they have a big match, it's going to put them closer and closer to that second place spot. That is not what Pablo and Chino want to lose. That's now 409 above, but you got to be careful. Both players instantly gone down.
Takhle teď to udělá Huty.
A blink of an eye. Shark and Tini get eliminated by Cringe and Twy.
Takhle teď to udělá Huty a F1HYX. Pošlou žraloka do lobby. Poslední hru, sledujte to.
The dangers of playing that side of zone when it pulls the opposite way is players that were a little bit late to the party being able to pick you up along the way. Hydro and Keto now taking advantage of their position on height. Good suppressive fire, good suppressive measures. Shots into Azeb's over shield, but at the same time here, no knocks just yet. Got a good connection to their original surge point, but Malabuka, Vico, they're gonna send it. They want front side. Mid layer, torping through. Very adamant in keeping tabs on everything surrounding them. Vico now looking for some aggression onto Nero and Joshua. They find the first. Can they get the second? They might not need it after all, the content to just wait. That little bit of Cypher materials. That's exactly what they needed.
To ty ještě háje neměli.
It's a big opportunity for Vico and Malabuka though. Seeing that Shark and Tini went down, it's their chance to get top 3 now. All they need is a decent match here. And for Sky and Scroll, they just want to keep expanding that gap.
Mě strašně mrzí ta druhá hra. Jak měli ten high a ten žralok tam skočil, kámo. Stačilo, aby tady tu hru jim negriefli. Myslím, že to byla druhá, že jo? Nebo třetí, to je jedno. Kdyby tu hru jim negriefli, měli ten high, tak podle mě by 20 byli, no. Před touhle poslední hrou, to je škoda, ty vole. Šmejdím tam museli skočit.
Into the storm. I think that they're looking for a Flowberry Mist Grenade. They're starting to tarp up. Height has no idea. They're not looking this far back into where the storm is at. Haruko and Kira, another duo that's hurting, but Scroll and Sky, they're willing to send it. Frontside challenge onto Height. It's just not high enough though. And they'll be forced to drop just a little bit, but the damage might have been done. Haruko and Kire had the same exact intentions. Focus, Thomas now gonna throw themselves up onto the high ground. Thomas won't be able to make it just yet, but he's waiting to reconvene with Focus. High ground is being sent into absolute shambles right now.
Oj, to je fight.
To fall from it, but no
Rezon si jde pro viny, jo.
They've got business up top as well. No one's gonna send it. One more overdrive grenade into the skies here, but he can't take care of Keto. Reason and Noah punished for trying to overthrow Aikido will finally get brought down though, and Thomas, Focus, they're looking to be the ones to actually have control, and no, it's Sky and Scroll in similar fashion, but Scroll, he's gonna be knocked. No one can get a footing here on height.
The bouncy house of chaos. Sky now is left alone. Just a sliver of HP's gone down as well. Thomas falls. Hydro up top. They started with height after the chaotic high ground retakes from who knows how many teams. Hydro has ended up once again looking to claim it, but Focus is doing what he can to overthrow. Hydro drops. He's out of builds. He does have the HP and shield advantage, but without any mats to play with, it's just making it that much more difficult.
But for all all of those teams. We saw like 5 different duos send it. One of them got fully eliminated. The other 4 left in solo positions now.
On je solo, to nedá, nemá healy shieldy.
Somehow, some way, he's still up top. Medius and iDrop trying to see now if they can be the ones to truly overrule the high ground. And Focus as a solo, he'll have to give it up. He's forced to drop here. Medius trying to see what kind of refrags he can pick up after the fact. iDrop going to send it downstairs. Cringe and Twy directly behind, but they're not going to be able to escape iDrop and Medius' vision. 6 eliminations already for Medius and iDrop. They knew that they needed a big pop-off performance here today, but Focus is lurking. He could play spoiler here. Twy's looking up. He's not looking next to him. Focus just needs to get the opening shot here, but he's still lurking, crouching, crawling around these front side layers. And instead, the pre-existing build, the pickaxe is going to be revealed, but he can't withstand a different player altogether. Has taken him down, but Cringe does lose his duo partner. iDrop and Medius looking to bring this one home. Just one more elimination. Just another set of 4 points to go to the count. Cringe trying to see what he can manifest here, but he's stuck inside the storm. He doesn't have a whole lot left to contend with here. Medius, though, with no iDrop, he's just gonna stay inside of zone. He knows only 2 builds remain. This is the time. Medius, you've done it once before, he does it again.
Okay. To jsem možná čekal, že vyhraje ten druhý, ty vole.
Game 11 for Medius and iDrop.
18th place.
Poslední hra, tak prosím.
Were going into this match. They were just on the cutoff of qualifying to the Major 1 LAN, and they have now solidified.
Jdem na tabulku, jo. Tak tabulka po 11 hrách celkově. Takže první Sky Scroll, to nikoho nepřekvapuje, si myslím, Pablo druzí, Shark třetí. No, ty vole, Shark s tím Tomasem ještě budou hrát toto třetí místo, jako Shark určitě nic jako nevypustí duo, no. Ty mají zaprdelí hned 2 týmy, i Malibuka, no, to ty vole, to ještě nemá jasný. Cringe 6. Marius 10. druhý Cringe 11. Janis 12. Svizi 13. Jabko 14. Kami 15. Flixi 16. Rezon 17. místo, Nepso 18. Verxo 19. místo, Jump 20. Tyhle Huty F1HYX 30. no. 30. místo. 187 bodů, aktuálně na top 22. Ty vole, 262, tuhle hru to posunulo o 40 bodů, je to možný? Tady jako tady je 40 bodů, nebo no 38 bodů rozdíl, no. Ty vole, ale win nebo nic, no. Jak nepadne win, tak to bohužel nemají. Win nebo nic. Win nebo nic, borci. Nic jiného jim nepomůže, no. To se posune na, jestli teď to je 200, kde to je, 262. No, na 280 se to asi jako posune, no. Win nebo nic? Last hra? To jsem zvědavý.
FNCS we just watched will be played on the same meta, right? And so the lessons they learn throughout this weekend will be incredibly valuable for them as they look towards the LAN.
Well, we are ready to take a short break, and when we come back, everything is on the line. It's the final game of the FNCS Europe Major 1 Finals.
Okay. Tak. Nic nového není, pojďme se podívat na poslední hru, no. Musíme doufat. Ty vole, kdyby dali win, kámo, a těsně to kvalnou, to by bylo dobrý, no. Musíme se modlit. Huty dead again. Teď to daj. Aspoň vám řeknu price pool. teď na 30. místě Huty4 si, když tak odnáší $1500. Každý, měl by to být každý, že? Jo, each player, yes, takže každý $1500, když skončí top 30. Top 40 $1000 a top 50 je 500. Okay. No a potom jinou šanci, tohle je poslední hra, aby postoupili do Německa. V Chapter 3 to bylo každý 10k. Když byli top 30 nejlepších duo týmů. On ten price pool hodně spadl, no. No jo, Chapter 3, no, to byl covid, víš co, spousta lidí, dětí doma. Takže to je jasný, no, že měli větší výdělky, no, takže price pool díky tomu byly větší, no. Že to je shark, ale to je fakeový shark, ne? Nějaký fakeový shark. Co by tady dělal, kámo, pravej shark, tyhle, na CZSK streamu, WTF. Ještě k tomu na YouTube. Last game.
It doesn't matter where you are watching, whether on LAN or online. Game 11 and FNCS always delivers, and there's a good reason for that, because it's time to look at the two duos at the top and see what they're going to do to assert themselves. And my word, did Sky and Scroll assert themselves, Levin?
I was jumping out of my chair. I mean, I was... we were sort of expecting this play to happen, right? The distance between top two and the third place team meant this was going to have to be the play at some point, whether it was game 11, whether it was game 12. We typically see this thing happen in game 12, but I understand the thinking from Chino and Pablo to go for it here in game 11. Unfortunately, they are dealing with the best duo in the world who just have no weakness in their game plan, and so they were ready for the off spawn, the perfect, both of them bunny hopping as well on the drops is just disgusting, Mini.
Yeah, that's always the risky run when you land on another team. They're going to know that drop better. They're going to know the little intricacies of that drop. They're going to know how to drop there in terms of the bus path and everything. And right there, Sky bunny hopping off of that rock. Got him to that weapon ahead of Chino and Pablo, and my goodness, was that aim incredible there as well, because if it wasn't, then it would have put them in deep trouble there. Looking at the leaderboard right now, there's still a long way to go for Chino and Pablo, but I think what they'll be happy about is that Shark and Teeny didn't have a good game. So I think maybe we'll run it back. We'll see.
I mean, look, I'm sure people will be wondering if they run it back, especially again, Sky and Scroll. They did well to make the most out of that game. Sky, you know, able to get a couple extra points. They finished 11th. They keep that gap.
Na konci května, takže těsně než začne season 3. Sezona 3 začne
9.6. Book it right and just run straight at Boulevard, right? You know, especially where they can use the teleporters to maybe get there a bit quicker as well. Like, there is a world where they didn't have to straight up just land on them to sort of get the same effect they were looking for. And so, yeah, at this point now, do you just say, you know what, we actually just have nothing to lose now?
Fakeovej Huty, jak můžeš být mrtvej, když jsi za prvé fakeovej Huty a za druhé, když ta hra ještě ani nezačala. To hraješ asi publiky, no. Huty už to bohužel nedá, když dá win, má to. Takže buď a nebo. Naštěstí stále ten win jako stačí, ale musel by padnout, no.
The sort of rematch between Pablo, Chino and Sky and Scroll a possibility and more interesting, but you can't deny just how exceptional Shark and Teeny have had to be today. to be in this position, contested, third place. You know, I started at the start of the weekend talking about how one of the best performances I've ever seen contested was Queasy Swizzy Moustache last year, and they came fourth in that. And so these guys currently beating that out is unbelievable.
We're looking at fourth right now, Focus and Thomas. There are lots of memes online about him coming second again. It has been difficult for them at times in terms of the zones, but it's great to see them consistently stay in this top 5, Minnie.
Yeah, really happy that these guys have been able to continue what they started yesterday. Again, the zones haven't been quite as favorable as they would have liked. We haven't really had that sort of southwest zone, barring that one that was Battlewood that wasn't really Battlewood, it was more south, wasn't it? So,
no, top 30 teď. To by znamenalo, že pro každého $1500. Ale oni hlavně chtějí nejlépe skončit top 20. na postup do Německa, no.
I think Thomas and Focus are a team that will continue to grow, and they will be a prime example of a team that will continue to
prostě vin a nic jiného není, no.
And we've missed Thomas on LAN. We want to see this. We're excited to see this. We're also excited to see Scary and Sires. I think Takata is especially excited to see Scary and Sires. Their day 2 hasn't been great.
Let's go. Tak Last Ratchet, pojďme si to užít. Last Ratchet snad dopadne lépe. Snad to dneska nebude všechno dead, no, na začátku hry skoro. Ty vole, jestli dropnou win. Prosím. Proč top 25 aspoň? 25... Nestačí, top 20 musí být. Pojďme. Pak to přepnu na Ofiko.
Ja, 100%.
Lustig.
Wir sehen, in welche Richtung die geflogen sind. Wir können einfach ficken, die Junge.
Der Besten?
Ich habe auch Best.
Nee, das waren schon die fucking Duck Dominion fliegen, ja, ist klar. Aber.
Er slidet da hin, pass auf, geh hinter Baum. Der wird es haben.
Das ist.
Proč není aspoň top 25? No, protože nejlepších 50 celosvětově duo týmu postupí do toho Německa. Takže máš potom týmy Amerika, týmy Asie, Oceánie. No, proto. Ty zase nikoho nemají, tak to rovnou přepneme, ne? Na Ofiko Fonko, ať nám ukážou FIXXa a Hutyho.
Could bounce back from that kind of situation in game 11, it would be Chino and Pablo. But game 12, ready to rumble. Let's see how it goes.
Let's go. Pojďme, poslední hra.
I think there's higher odds that we do get a run back versus not. It's going to be very difficult to get 130 points. But I mean,
postupuje první 20 z 50.
Sharkantini is the duo that would be capable of it. But we don't have to wait long. I see Sky Scroll, and I don't see Pablo Chino.
But that's fine, because there's one other thing to still keep in the back of your minds, and it's that for Sky and Scroll, while they aren't going to be contested off the immediate 50-50 for the on-spawn, there's still an opportunity for Chino and Pablo to try and cut them off elsewhere. They've been very obvious with trying to see exactly how they can, you know, reformulate their strategies. Pablo and Chino, it's not without, it's still within their reach, but it's just going to be a very, very difficult game. They've got a lot of work cut out for them. Sharktini, though. Huty, Fishy, hurt, but still kicking. Shark trying to see if he can change that, though.
If Huty Fishy somehow get like 100-point game here and win, just to qualify to the summit one time.
Moneymaker dead.
that would be crazy. We know that's the last thing Sharkantini won. So I expect some aggression from this early game here. Question is when. Doesn't have to be quick. No. The confidence they've had. Wouldn't be surprised if it is.
Sharkantini, though. They don't exactly want to go over aggressive with it. They want to make sure that they're just confirming the elimination of Huty and Fishy. And already Huty Fishy, they have fully forfeited the arcade game position, but they're still looking to see if they can maybe try and sneak up onto Shark. Fishy.
Ty se rozhodli, že to pušnou, jo?
Shark though getting the better end of the exchange, but it's gonna be a turnaround instead. Shark has been brought down. Solely down to Teeny, but Teeny, he doesn't have a shotgun. He's only got 2 pistols and an assault rifle, and with no shotgun against the likes of Huty and Fishy.
No way.
I don't think that there's a way for him to escape here. He's
2v1.
going to have to kick it into overdrive to beat this one out, and will manage to get the loot from the arcade game.
Legendární shotgun a potom z něho bědák ten parchant uteče a někdo to rebootne. Ten vám neuteče. Ne. Ale to mají 2v1, to pošlou do lobby. Za chvíli tam nahoře bude eliminace, sledujte. Kámo, zase poslední hra, přesně. Ale. Zázlaz. Zaslaz hra.
But Huty and Fishy are just so healthy. Shark and Teeny. They have done so much
že by fakt zopakovali včerejšek. Dobré lobby jim dali. 8 bodů, teď to vyhrát.
Whether or not Fishy and Huty have the ultimate type of plot armor. Because if they manage to qualify from this position now, Takada, knowing what they have to overcome in the leaderboard in general, just to get into qualifying range, it's just monstrous. It would be insanity for them to actually make it.
A teď to možná vlastně tím pádem ne jako griefly, ale kvůli tomu, že teď prohráli, tak neskončí možná 3. a budou ještě 4. nebo 5.
So it does look like they'd most likely have to end on a win. They're gonna have to end on close to one of those 100-point games, win the match, good amount of elims. It's not impossible for Huty and Fishy to qualify to the Summit 1 Major LAN, but they need an incredibly big match to close this off. But honestly, Taco, I don't know why, I think we can see it happen.
But now what's at stake is that 3rd place position on the leaderboard. Thomas
HD and Focus, they were not far behind.
Huty, or excuse me, Shark and Teeny. But Sky, Scroll, maybe wanting to repay the favor. I can recognize there's definitely a little bit of action taking place Northwest SS Studios. They won't get involved just yet. Still just gonna hang around the outskirts here, but Pablo and Chino, I think they were looking for Nathan and Nebs. They might have even been fighting somebody else entirely. Either way, several other teams kind of just surrounding the area now. Everyone really looking.
FyXYX byl dead, to bylo napsáno vlevo nahoře. Huty dead, ne, počkej, ne. Počkej, teď tam byl Huty, neříkejte, že tím pádem jsou mrtví. Tam byl i FyXYX, jo. Fakt jo, ty vole, já jsem si to ani nevšiml. Teď jako toho jo, Hutyho, nebo myslím, že byl Huty. Takže konec jo. GG, ukáž tabulku. Ne, to nejsou oni. No way.
Gonna be the first elimination confirmed there for Focus and Thomas. That's a big part of the reason why they feel encouraged to try and see if they can pick up Zany along with it, but yeah, Zany's not gonna make it easy. He's obviously
tak bohužel nikdo do Německa nepostoupí, no. Z CZSK scény. Rip. Škoda, no, ty vole, vypadalo teď to tak jako trošku nadějně.
Trying to escape, but not good enough. Vico and Malibuka with 2 eliminations over at Frigid Fortress.
Skoro no.
They'll be happy to collect.
Dneska se tolik nedařilo, no. Dneska to nevyšlo.
It's always difficult to come by.
Stále ta druhá hra, kam jak měli ten high.
And you also have to remember, Vico and Malibuka definitely within that 3rd place striking range too on the
ani nevím, na koho umřeli.
100%. If Thomas HD and Focus do get 3rd place, it's going to be Thomas's 12th 3rd place in the major finals.
Škoda.
Got in top 5 or top 2 5 times. Living up to his history here. Chino, Pablo. It looks like they're making a bit of a different rotate here, Taco.
they're looking for Sky and Scroll.
Demus ho vypl
That's all
duo.
they're doing.
Ani nevím, s kým hraje
waiting
Demus.
to see
Kde je Demus?
where Sky and Scroll are at, but what's crazy is that Sky and Scroll seem to have a very similar mentality. They might have been looking for Chino and Pablo because check out where they're at. Sky and Scroll, they're nowhere near Chino and Pablo. They're kind of just stuck waiting.
Huty konec kariéry, ne.
Hey, I thought these guys were supposed to be here by now.
Co někde Huty dropl, že konec?
But instead, all that
ne. Jak jsme Hutan tak, Hutan
might be Nero and Josh spot off in the distance, but I don't think Chino and Pablo won't waste any more time. There's still Surge that they want to keep tabs of. And yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate fizzle out here though for Chino and Pablo, but they're definitely trying to be proactive.
Cammy, Hari, there's a team that had a very strong start yesterday. Kick off the EU major finals.
Jako jestli skončí Huty, tak vlastně Huty je tady jako ten poslední, ten z těch OG hráčů, no. Z kapitoly 1. Pak většinou ty další hráči to už je třeba chapter 2, chapter 3, no.
Continuing to play aggressive, continuing on their hunt for Sky and Scroll. Unfortunately for them, this is not
Vrax teda ještě, Vrax to tu. Ještě Vrax, ale nevím, jak je na tom Vrax v turnajích teď, no.
And that's really the thing here for Pablo and Chino. They want to play catch up with Sky and Scroll. They're going to need eliminations anyway, on top of a win. So Pablo just watches Dinas barely survive that initial flip shot from Chino, but still.
Mirá takovou hru Huty, včera poslední, šestou. Dali win.
They're looking for the fourth. Frenek trying to do what he can to delay. He's in that 23rd position, just outside of Summerland qual range. And Pablo Chino are gonna douse the flame of Dinas and Frenek. That will not have the opportunity to try and represent Poland at the Germany LAN, but hey, game is game at the end of the day here at Takata. Players are doing what they can to put themselves in the best position possible.
The last thing you want happening in the last match is having Chino Pablo keying you while they're on the hunt. F1HYX, there's another team. They've maintained kind of like that 14th to 17th range for a very long time today. All they got to do is close it off with a solid end here. No reason. Similar situation.
Huty Vrax to byly dobrý tria, no.
They've been consistently staying in qualifying range, but the issue is all it would take is one bad match and they can drop out. Let's hope this is not going to be that bad match.
It's too close for comfort.
To byly dobrý tria.
Right now has just way too many other duos that could possibly overtake, and they don't want to risk it. If they just stick true to their strengths, I'm sure they'll be able to find themselves in a position where they're able to close out the end game and net themselves enough points to confirm their representation at Summer 1 LAN. But look at Thomas and Focus finally getting their conclusion over at Riptide. Zany has been eliminated. Zany Emberg no longer.
Shark postupuje, no. Ty mají postup. I když ho teda F1HYX teď vypli poslední hru. Shark skončí třetí nejlépe a nejhůře pátý.
Nothing new. Sky up above now with Scroll and Sandy Strip. Hold on now. It's kind of funny to see a little change in locations here with Chino Pablo. They've swapped POIs. Yeah, it's obvious why they're rotating over here. Just funny to see. For Sky and Scroll, I mean, all they gotta do is continue what they've been doing as the day's gone on.
Chapter 8 budou tria FNCSK. Ty vole, Chapter 8, jo.
They were in that 13th position. I do believe
ty jsi mýval hodně v budoucnosti.
Able to stay within the qualifying range. Skyjump and Momsy on the other hand, 20th place duos eliminated. And look at 21st and 22nd Glove Sheet Prax. So little to overcome, but it does add a huge amount of pressure here to Takata.
Ale Skyler stále hraje Fonko, ne? Na kiku nebo ne?
And they're already so close, but for Skyjump and Momsy, their fate rests exclusively on the performance of the teams in 21st and 22nd right now.
Darkos Minori, They ended yesterday on a 3rd place with 2 eliminations. The problem is since then today they've only had 1 match.
On má, počkej, on má ban na kiku?
The good news is it was the most
Nebo počkej, ban ve fonku?
So if they can replicate that here, it should be enough to solidify themselves a spot at the summit.
You say that, but they're in the same boat as Glapshi and Prux. I mean, both of these teams are at 224 points right now. They are tied, dead even for 21st. And Skyjump Monzi, they've got a little bit of a buffer zone. It's just not one that they can feel super great about watching the remainder of this 12th lobby. Sky Scroll, though, ready to make their move. They're kind of, I think we're about to see a highlight reel performance out of Sky and Scroll.
Na 3 měsíce takhle až. No.
They have a very
to je nejhorší, když hraješ s někým a nevíš, jestli používá cheaty, no. A kvůli němu pak dostaneš ban. Nebo říkal, jestli to věděl, že jeho teammate používá cheaty.
Mentality of we are first, we are the champions, and I feel like everything is just alluding to it. The only thing that is chasing them in the rearview mirror right now is Pablo and Chino. So if either of those players go down, I think that's where we'll start to see that extra gear come into play from Sky and Scroll.
Might have forgot the Huty Fishy script though. The 1st place final comeback. Jokes aside, I mean, it's not a joke. It is very possible. Sure, and repairs.
A s kým hrál Baro?
They've been performing incredibly well until the 2 previous matches.
Teď vyšla poprvé zóna doprava dolů, ne?
Drop down out of the top 5 into 7th place. Very close.
Dneska se nedařilo, no.
So they are gonna want a pretty decent performance here. Pablo Chino, though, they're gonna need an extraordinary one, and on top of that, to take out Sky and Scroll before they start racking up placement points.
Yeah, but they've already got 4 eliminations, and they're looking to try and add some more to the count here. Chat, Flixie, Vico, Malibuka, a couple of teams kind of just stuck between each other on the edge of zone. Sky Scroll might be able to take advantage of it, but first they've got to contend with the likes of Volko and Cringe. Players not necessarily sorted out with their surge metrics. For Vico, Malibuka, they're trying to wait things out. 1 more splash remains. Vico does have a few slices of pizza, but the lobby is looking inwards, and it's focusing solely on their position. The last of their materials just getting burned through so rapidly. The pressure relentless. Chat, Felixi, part of the reason why they're receiving so much of it. Malibuka, Vico, they cannot escape. 100 above now, dropping. And the constant fluctuations, it's just got to be battling on the nerves right now. But Vico, Malibuka, they are a team that can definitely hold steady, but they are going to need a refresh at this stage.
A lot of mats, a lot of heals have just been used up from that lobby focus, but it could have been worse. Neither player got knocked. They're still in zone. And focus
Major 2 to začíná kdy, ten druhej.
They are,
protože jak to, že jo, bude, jestli bude season 3 a pak season 4 už nebude. Nikde ještě nebylo řečeno, že bude season 4, že jo. Týhle kapitoly, no.
The good news is 407 above, they have mats, they have a loadout. They have what it takes to play this end game out. All that's left is to do it.
A little bit uneasy here now. 4chap and Flixie. Malibuka started to get a little bit more aggressive. Check out Darman Demish, though, on the other end of things, contending with Chino and Pablo. Chino and Pablo have a whole lot of surge, but Darman Demish, they have been rather aggressive. They don't mind going for the occasional key opportunity here, so Pablo, Chino, they'll have to keep their wits about them. Don't want to lose sight of what's just in front of them. Almost feels like their arms already extended. They're reaching out to try and grab Sky and Scroll.
26.7. Major 2.
Just can't connect with their shirts just yet. They've still got so much left to go. And Scroll and Sky cruising right now through the low ground. Very familiar territory for these two.
To bude na konci ale sezóny 3, to je divný.
With ultimate low and just made it look effortless to play through.
thing is they have been continuously kind of controlling that low ground throughout the day, so you know Pablo Chino, they're gonna have that in mind when they're looking where to play themselves. As now they have also gotten ahead on low. As Focus has to be careful, he's been cracked. Thomas on the other side of the zone trying to group up. Is gonna be able to, but Glubshy has gone down. Prax is left alone.
A Major trojka bude taky lanka, nebo ne? Teda dvojka.
To the summit land is what's left for Prax here.
Skyjump and Momsy almost want to close their eyes, but it's like you got to make the cracks through your fingers. You want to see what happens to these teams that are hot on your heels for overthrowing your position for that summit land wall. Pablo Chino, though, chopping at the floor right now, trying to see if they can bring Darm Demish down, but
je to škoda, no, to je potom...
overhead and underneath, Darm Demish managed to stay strong. At least for right now, but Chino, Pablo, they still want this. They still might be able to go for it, too. Or they might just choose back off. Look back, wait, see. Is anybody else gonna run across our screens?
Co bude?
They're trying to find, look for a healthy duo here, but be careful.
Pro hráči a tvůrci content creatoři nebude, to bylo zrušený. To bylo zrušený, protože nemají prachy.
Almost guarantee Pablo Chino are gonna be happy with seeing that on the feed. As Sky is not used to these solo clutch opportunities, but Chino's also gone down. Taco, both our first and second place team are now left as solos.
But the big thing here is that it's better for Sky and Scroll. Pablo and Chino, they needed to be together. They needed to confirm as many eliminations as possible. And now the world rests upon Chino's shoulders, just watching Pablo try to bring things home for the pairing. Still, it's just so much to overcome here. And Sky, on the other end of things, in a nicely set up position, he'll be able to help bring down Cammy, but he's gonna elevate. He just wants to get overhead. Pablo having a much rougher time trying to navigate his way through this elevation shift, and Sky will take a moment to pause, a moment to breathe. Pablo, he still needs more eliminations. He needs a strong placement on top of those eliminations, and I don't know if the opportunity is going to come by him. Sky, Scroll, even if he gets eliminated here, Pablo left as a solo, the odds are just so heavily against him, and Sky, he might be able to net something more still. We saw him in the last lobby. He had 4 eliminations all by himself, and I think it's not unreasonable to believe he might be able to net another one, but Pablo has no idea. It's Sky that's underneath him. Sky gonna find a secondary elimination here already. He's gonna keep maneuvering straight towards that front side, but there is no moment to pause and think if you are Pablo. He's just gotta keep things going.
Both of these players, Pablo and Sky, they've solo clutched countless times. They are more than capable of doing it, but like you said, this is much more in favor for Sky and Scroll now already with 2 elims. Maps are running low, gonna choose to just farm as many placements as possible, but he might knock on Pablo's door. Is he gonna take the pursuit? Sky now in the zone, Pop. The Flowberry missed as the shot comes through onto Minori. That's a solid refresh, but the issue is, didn't get the mats. Pablo now left with 12, is gonna overdrive back in. Sky is cracked. The pressure is on.
Tady ještě hrajou ty pozice, no, Pablo. Malibuka vlastně ten taky. Na to 3. místo na Sharka. On má matro, ne?
Sky and Scroll have done enough. They will be wielding that axe of champions and headed straight for the Major 1 Summit land. It's a huge moment for them to celebrate. A couple of young Danes just really coming surely into their best of forms, but Malibuka, Vico, they don't find their victory royale here. It's Nathan and Nebs. They wanted to make sure they wouldn't miss out on this Summit land, and with this victory royale, they're guaranteed to hold on to their position.
Congratulations.
To bylo teda dnešek, pojďme se podívat na závěr na tabulku, jak to celý teda dopadlo. Takže Sky a Scroll definitivní vítězové, 738 bodů za těch 12 her. Pak Pablo a opravdu Shark 5. Takže jak jsme to říkali před tady tou hrou, Shark kvůli tomu, že zemřel na Huty a na F1HYXe, tak kvůli tomu skončili 5. A jestli vám to mám říct přesně, tak Huty a F1HYX díky tomu, že eliminovali Sharka, tak přišli každý $10 000. To znamená jak to vychází, 200 tisíc, přibližně 220 tisíc. To už jsou jako slušný prachy, no. Takže tak, Cringe 8, Jabko 10, Nepso 11, Cringe německý 12. místo, Marius 13, Janis 15. místo, Flixy 17, Rezon 18, že Rezon postupuje a uzavírá to Minory a Darkos. To jsou ty borci, jak je... Počkat, ne, nejsou, ne? Ne, Demus teda eliminoval F1HYX Hutyho. Takže 284 bodů bylo potřeba na postup. Takže kdyby teoreticky F1HYX a Huty vyhrál tuhle hru poslední, tak by byli asi 20. Že by to měli fakt jako těsný. Těsný postup, možná. No, možná těsný postup, no. A F1HYX Huty teda 30. místo a odnáší si z tohohle dnešního a včerejšího turnaje, který teda byl takhle spojený, každý $1500. Což je na český přibližně 30-40 tisíc korun. Je to krásný, ale myslím si, že chtěli určitě postupit do toho Německa, no. Moneymaker 36. A tady jsou potom další. Poslední skončil 3-1-2-3, 2-5, 1-5, 1-2-5, no. Takže tak. Škoda. Bohužel to nevyšlo. Takže FNCS Watching Party na konci května hold bude bez Čechů, no. Bez Čechů a Slováků, no. Do Německa postupuje 50 týmů, z tohohle dnešního a včerejšího turnaje postupovalo 20 z Evropy. Večer teď se bude hrát ještě Amerika. Amerika se bude hrát, no. Takže tak. Hele, já to nebudu zdržovat. Díky, že jste dorazili se podívat na FNCS-ko. Dáme v květnu Německo, FNCS Watching Party. Bohužel tam teda nikdo z CZSK nebude, ale kouknem na to. A jo. Co ještě dodat? Neděle, takže snad se měli krásný víkend. V pondělí, zítra je pondělí, že? Nevím upřímně, co zítra bude, možná zítra bude off. A v úterý nějaký stream nebo video, něco takového klasického. V pátek vlastně volno, zkrácený, takže to je nice. Díky, že jste dorazili a uvidíme se u dalšího, když tak streamu nebo videa. Ahoj, čus. Krásný večer všem.